in the sky, gazing far into the night. I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you. In the sky, gazing far into the night. I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you.
Hello everybody and welcome along to the final day. In the first session is about to begin of the last two meeting in between Barry Hawkins and Jack Lisowski to see whether it is going to be ranking title number 5 in Barry Hawkins' career, or is it going to be 2 in the same season there for Jack Lisowski, for both of them to come at the Home Nation Series as well. As now we welcome first of all Jack to arrive on the arena. Fantastic break that he managed to produce, and a mesmerizing performance as well to come back from 3-1 down against John Higgins. And in the end now, welcoming Barry Hawkins, that had a really good campaign as well, for him to be very much a real challenger there against Jack Lisowski, beating the likes of Weezer, Neil Robertson, Mark Williams and Pang Jung-soo on his way to the final. So certainly had a more difficult draw than Jack Lisowski, but all of that, he's going to be out of the picture. It all comes down to who's going to play better on the day. And it's now 2 sessions in between the 2 players to see which one of them will be getting their hands on the Radon Trophy. Of course, Jack Lisowski managed to get a trophy yesterday. Very weird thing to see at the semi-finals for one of the players to be getting a trophy, but that was very much to do with him getting that Home Nations bonus of 150,000. And yeah, now let's see, what is it going to be there for either Jack or Barry? And feel like main thing has to probably be purely down to the, well, who's going to be playing better today. But for now, we're going to have to pay tribute to a rising legend that has sadly passed away a couple of months ago, John Virgo now. So certainly applause by the crowd and the players. Yeah, it's never nice to see those things happen, but it's always a bit of a weird feeling where you are quite happy the way that, players and commentators like him unite the snooker fans. And the tribute to him here and Llandudno certainly showing that, he will be surely missed. And it will be a weird feeling at the Crucible, which we're going to approach in a month's time. But for now, snooker is certainly going to get underway. Barry Hawkins and Jack Lisowski, one of them, will be able to get the title on their hands. Once again, if you talk about Barry, managed to win the Australian Open in 2012 and before making the finals and winning the World Grand Prix, managing to do it at the Masters as well of the, European Masters in 2023 when he managed to defeat Judd Trump and had the Players Tour Championship win as well against Gerard Green. But that was a bit of a weird one because he only managed to win that match 4-0. But when it comes to Barry, you also have to say that he has been the runner-up of 5 of those Triple Crown events, once in the World Championship at the Crucible to Ronnie O'Sullivan. Lost that match in 2013, 12-18. And now it is going to be purely down to Jack's story as well, because, you had a bit of a thing to say about Barry. But talking about Jack Lisowski, did have a bit of a quiet season ever since his triumph at the Northern Ireland Open, and it was actually the International Championship, which, well, has seen a decent performance there from both of the players, managed to play each other, and now Barry straight away probably showing the sign of how this final is going to go there, and he's quite fortunate not to be leaving anything away there to Jack. So let's see which way is he going to be here. Neutral today, Barry maybe would have loved to see Joe in the final. Same, but at the same time, you have to say that if you make the World Grand Prix final, you make the Players Championship final, and you win both of them, then, at some stage you also want to see, some of the other players getting a bit of table time there, but also it's going to put a bit of more extra pressure on you, extra fatigue. And, the thing about John Higgins and Zhao Xington, I mentioned that in the first couple of rounds, it was super impressive that both of them were actually competing at the Home Nation Series this tournament here in North Wales, because as much as it wasn't really a journey from China to England, but it still was very much, a Sunday evening. They were playing the final, and Tuesday afternoon and evening they had to be playing the first round matches. Higgins and Zhao are going to be out, but Barry Hawkins and Jack Lisowski are still going to be standing here. So after a bit of a fortunate shot from Barry previously, let's see if he's going to have a chance to try and get the red into the green pocket here. Try and roll that cue ball towards the ball colours. Manages to play that shot pretty well. Finds a gap in between the yellow and the brown. So the red is in. The position should be there. And as I said, Barry needs to be making sure, he tries to just get a really good start here against Jack, because we've seen that he's able to overcome those, different moments for himself. 3-1 down to Higgins yesterday. Still able to produce 3 incredible frame wins for him to be lined up in the final. And as I say, we had a quick look at the way that both of the players managed to reach this stage. David Lilley 4-3, Pang Jingsu 4-2, Mark Williams 4-2, Robertson 5-3, and then Weeze at 6-4 there. So all of these matches have been close, but at the same time, if you look at the ones Pang Jingsu, Mark Williams, and Neil Robertson, well, it looks like the scoreline's been close, but Hawkins has played pretty well in every single one of those matches, apart from maybe the one against Robertson, where he wasn't really scoring quite heavily, and at the end now, getting himself probably not to be in a position for the black here. You have to just have a look to see if the angle is going to be worth taking on there, because once again, he's going to be playing for the red into the same pocket, so if he just leaves the black over the pocket, it may still give him a chance to try and put it somewhat safe. But now manages to play the shot super well, avoiding any contact on the black ball cushion and just guiding it to the back end part of that jaw in the right part of the table. Jack Lisowski, having won a big bonus, will be nerve-free, should prevail 10-7. Well, I actually feel like it's going to be the opposite of that. I feel like it's going to be a little bit low in motivation, as much as it's still going to be a 55,000 worth of ranking points and prize money that he can achieve in comparison to just reaching the final. I still feel like it is going to be, a bit of a more motivation for Barry here, because Jack Lisowski had his match of pretty much the season yesterday. It was by far the biggest prize for him in terms of prize money that he's ever won. In terms of 175,000 worth of prize money that he's managed to take, as Barry takes another red away into the right corner. Black has gone onto the yellow pocket, onto the yellow spot, and is about to disappear into the yellow pocket as well. So Barry certainly had that cue ball to be negotiating his way through those reds. Now able to clear the black ball spot away. And now the referee should be re-spotting the black onto its previous position. So Ben Williams is going to be refereeing the final. And now let's see if it is going to be a decent opportunity here for Barry, because as much as we've seen Jack to play absolutely his best game pretty much of the season, I mean, I know he was really consistent and playing some really good snooker at the Northern Ireland Open, but that final, as much as it was brilliant to watch and it was absolutely drama and breathtaking away, but I felt like the quality of the performance that he had against Higgins yesterday probably surpasses anything else that he's had this season. Just looking at the black to be taken into the left corner, and if he tries to take that cue ball away and try and get it off the side cushion, get himself lined up for the red to be taking. So I am going to go Team Barry. Going to stick with a scoreline 10-7, but I feel like if it is, sorry, 10-7, it can't be 10-7 because it's first to 9. So I'm going to say, well, I don't actually know that. I wasn't even thinking about it. I was just thinking about the first session. But if I was to take a guess there, it will be 9-6 to Barry, because I feel like if it goes to 9-7, then Jack is going to have a really good chance to try and take it away from Barry. Has played another great shot. Not quite able to hold that cue ball all the way for the black, but still should be able to take this one all the way and into the left corner. So just try and take the pace away from the cue ball, make sure it's not going to be in behind those reds, and that seems to be the case there. As much as it's probably not going to be the end of a break, because he's going to have another one of those reds to be taken into the middle. It's not quite going to be the perfect way for him to be going on about the business. And also he needs to be making sure that he can actually see enough of that red for it to be taken into the middle. Nice little cut there on the cue ball. And just try and push it through the position on the blue. And using the entire pocket there, which could have compromised him on the blue, but didn't. And he still clearly managed to hold this one very well. So he's just about going to be on the right side of a blue. And he's going to be marching on towards taking the first frame away there from Jack, because he's now taken a 44 points of a gap in this break to the table. Still manages to get himself lined up on, well, at least 4 easy reds, you would say. And then from that point onwards, it's going to be down to just, the black, the pink, and the blue are all going to be in great position there. So, and we've seen a little bit of a stat there that Hawkins' highest break in the tournament has been 108. And as much as probably too early to be saying that, this is going to be a really good chance for him to try and improve on that, because it's still going for a potential 1-4-1 after he takes the blue and gets that cue ball down to some of the reds lower at the bottom part of the table. So then the pink is going to be slightly off his spot, which probably helps Barry Hawkins even more, because he allows him to be sending that cue ball all the way for those reds and then just play this shot with topspin on the black. Once again, using that cue ball to be lined up pretty straight, but just lower than the straight line of a black, which once again, if you use the backspin pretty well, you've got the chance to try and hold the cue ball off those reds and into them. Just try and catch them from underneath. Or you've got another chance of trying to play the cue ball with loads more backspin and just get it lined up for one of the higher reds. Once again, either one of those options is not really going to impact Barry too badly there, and he's about to be lined up with a frame ball. because that's going to be 65 points with a pink, 66 with the red. So it's just going to be taking the color after that. And Bay will win 10-7. I don't know why you're getting that 10-7 of a scoreline, because it is going to be first to 9. So I can definitely tell you he's not going to be winning this match 10-7. So I am going to say for 9-6 Barry, because as much as I still feel like it is going to be Jack as the favourite, but once again, 8.5 minutes for the frame time. This could be a very quick final if, some of those frames are going to be played in a fashion that we've seen those semi-finals perform yesterday, of both Barry Hawkins against Weezer and Jack Lisowski against John Higgins. Now it's going to be a break of 73 points, which gives him a really nice of a cushion in terms of forcing Jack to be trying to find 2 snookers before he's going to be able to try and get himself back into the rhythm for this frame. So then takes the red nicely, gets himself lined up for another black, and as I said previously, at this stage it's going to be all down to just making a century break. Got himself lined up on the black quite nicely, and he also has got the angle to bring the cue ball lined up for one of the more difficult raids there, just because it manages to free up the other 2 to be taken with no issues at all into the left corner. So then 82 points, as I said, he's managed to use the pink previously, so still going for a 140 of a break. He's not going to be able to land the highest break of the tournament with that, but he's probably not going to be on his weekly plan anyway. It's all about just trying to get another century on the board, and well, the fact that he's managed to win the first frame against Jack Lisowski with him not scoring a single point certainly will help, because technically now you're going to be 1/9 of a way there, and just needs to be making sure he tries to take that momentum into the next couple of frames. Once again, slightly underneath the black, should be able to just slow the cue ball down enough there to play the red next to the pink and take it into the left corner. So that's still trying to maximize the points that he's going to be scoring, because of, him doing that. He allows him to be scoring a century break without actually needing the last of those reds. But still, he's going to very much try to get that one to be in the open play. Just about to take the black for a century though, and make it a perfect start for him. 105 points of a break there, centurying the first frame. Brilliant stuff there from Barry, and he's been really impressive from his early start performance here. As I say, not a lot of things that Jack Lisowski has managed to do wrong in the first frame, but didn't really have to do any of that. And clearly it was enough for him to be taking a century break. In the end, the red is going to stay out, so it's not quite going to be a perfect total clearance, but still a fantastic break of 105 points for Barry to get this opening frame underway. And now takes the first one and gets himself into an early gap there, and a lead of 1-0. Before the match started, by the way, it had the minor benefit of the odds there in terms of 172 being in favour of Jack and 2.1 there in favour of Barry to be the winner. So still, a couple of those ranking finals that we've seen Barry to miss out on, especially in the Triple Crown events. He's managed to do that with, Masters, runner-up in 2016 and 2022. As I said, runner-up to the Crucible in 2013 to Ronnie O'Sullivan, and then recent UK Championship a couple of seasons ago in 2024 when he had a loss to Jot Trump 8 frames to 10. And it was an interesting match that, because it's obviously the most recent final that he's managed to reach there. But, well, with the Triple Crown event, certainly had a German Masters meeting with Karen Wilson last season as well, leading out 10 frames to 9. But yeah, the interesting story about that match was Trump pretty much had that one under control from start to finish, but Barry still managed to come back with a decent performance at the end of it, and forcing Judd to be a little bit nervous at the death of that match. And now let's see the way that this one is going to go. As I say, only 15 minutes since the match has got underway, and we've already seen one of those frames to be won. Jack is going to be, well, very eager to try and get his scoring on the board there, because, as I say, in the opening 4 frames against Higgins, he was very much struggling for form. And we mentioned Barry Hawkins' run to the final, so we may as well just go through the run for Jack Lisowski as well. Probably not as high rated seeds in terms of the players that he had to play. Louis Heathcote in the first round, Stiao Goduni in the second round, 4-2, 4-3. Then Jackson Page was defeated 4 frames to 2, but could have easily been taking the distance had Page taken that red into the right corner, right at the death there. And still a very comfortable performance against Stuart Bingham, winning 4 frames on the bounce, and in the end being over the line with 5 frames to 2. And in the match, of course, against John Higgins yesterday, which was anything but convincing and confident performance there in terms of the way that Higgins was showing some great resistance, but in the end, that fantastic break of 73 points just allowed Jack to be running away with it and making sure that John was not going to be racing to the final once again. And for once, he's actually lost the decider in the semi-final this season. Brilliant shot there by Barry once again off the break-off. So he's going to be starting to try and put some pressure there on Jack, because as much as, you know, the final stats probably don't look as nice for Barry, but neither they are going to be looking nice for Jack because of him not really reaching any of those finals previously in his career. Now they're just looking to try and find a way that he's got himself lined up onto the, well, red's potentially taken into the right corner, but I feel like he's going to be too close to this one, so it's not going to be worth it there for Barry. And just going to try and roll that cue ball onto those reds. So let's see what's going to happen here with Jack. See, he's going to have a touch and ball available to him. Will just allow the cue ball to be taken into the left part of the table, onto the black ball cushion, onto the left side as well, and then take it all the way to the bulk. In the meantime, he's going to have to try and consider taking that cue ball into a somewhat safe area as well. Once again, just having a look towards the left middle, and a couple of those reds that look to be in the way of each other. As I say, I'm not entirely sure that the referee has called a touch and ball, but with the way that he's looking to try and play this one away there, clearly just didn't have a safe spot for him to be having in the mind. And in the end, just played that one away there onto the black ball cushion, although could have got the cue ball a lot closer to the cushion itself. So clearly, Barry's not going to have a red available into the yellow pocket to be taken, so just a safety shot to be playing at the top end of the table. And the cue ball's going to be heading towards that green pocket, quite close, very close indeed. And it does look like it will drop at the end. Oh, I mean, just about stayed out there. I mean, it's probably about as close as it could have been. The referee's going to have a very close look at that. And of course, if the cue ball was to drop now, it would have been respotted by the referee, because it's been way too long since the cue ball was there. So then we're not going to need to see the referee respotting that cue ball, because Jack has managed to take the shot pretty well. Look at that, brilliantly taken there, to be placing that cue ball perfectly on the black ball cushion. Certainly an improvement on the previous shot that he's played. And Barry should still have the opportunity to try and get the cue ball lined up to the top end of the table, whilst maybe just getting a couple of those reds to be in the open play. So then it's going to be down to Jack to try and do a similar sort of thing there, but of course he's going to have loads more distance for the cue ball to try and travel. Puts the paint to be put through those reds, and straight to the right part of the table is going to be taken. One of those reds has gone all the way to the side cushion. But apart from that, the cue ball placement once again is going to be really good there from Jack, and still 50-50 there in terms of Lisowski and Hawkins to be favourites for this match. 45 to be fair for Hawkins, 50 for Lisowski, 5% for the draw. Whatever you say about this, draw doesn't seem to be a popular outcome in any one of those predictions polls, which I suppose is going to be based on the preferences for the players, so you're always going to be heading for one or the other to win it. Now then, it is another great shot there from Barry, gives the turn back to Lisowski, and the good news for Barry is that he's managing to play those shots with the cue ball being in a really nice safe spot, but also he's not really been leaving too many of those easy reds away to Jack. Let's see if he's going to be able to try and find one here. And in the end, just finds a really thin cut on one of those reds. Gets the cue ball to be passing the brown and the green. And despite it not being on the ball cushion, this shot is still probably going to be one of the nicest that Jack has played in this match so far, because of how well he's managed to play a very much a dangerous shot there, because if he catches that one too thin or doesn't catch it at all, the cue ball's going to be heading all the way to the lower end of the table after bouncing away from the ball cushion. Instead, that wasn't the case. Now it's going to be Barry to try, and not too sure what he's trying there. Maybe just the thin cut on one of those reds and push it towards the right corner. once again, has to be careful with those type of shots because ideally you want to be pushing those reds onto the side cushion and not too close, as I say, to the right corner of the table. Manages to, well, probably keep out those reds away from the right corner, but once again, just getting that cue ball to be placed very nicely for him indeed. And giving the turn back to Lisowski here once again. It does look like he's going to be forced to try and get himself involved with those safety battles at the early start of this match, which was always going to be expected there for the final, but at the same time, you know, especially with the way that we've seen the first frame to be dominated by the attacking play of Barry, let's now have a look the way that this frame is going to go. Jack is just trying to roll that cue ball onto those reds. Needs to be careful with that cue ball not being dropped in, and he will be dropped in. So, I mean, he was always going to be a bit low on the pace there that he had to play that shot with. But, you know, when you play that shot with so little power, that cue ball was always going to be drifting towards the right corner, whether it was going to be dropped or not. He never quite knew about it. But now it's going to be Hawkins that has got a ball in hands and therefore has got a really nice opportunity to try and get that cue ball to be heading towards the left corner, and one of those reds to be taken with a long shot. Let's see if it's going to disappear. It won't. And now the cue ball just about gets past the other red, so it's going to cannon the yellow with a minor effect as well, but the same red has gone all the way onto the ball cushion and then bounced away for it to be quite close to the left corner again. So it is now going to be a chance for Jack to be taking this one away, and then for it to be taken all the way there in terms of the cue ball. And trying to play for the blue. Gets a bit lucky with the contact on the red, but should have been on the blue nicely anyway. Tournament long pot success for Jack is going to be 52%. And tournament pot success overall is going to be 89% there. So, not too bad on either one of them. You know, when you've got 52 as your percentage for long shots, and especially how many we've seen of those to be actually attempted there by Jack. You know, I've been watching the matches against Bingham and Higgins, and I could name you around 15 or 20 that he's tried to take. And, of course, the break that he had against John Higgins yesterday still remains to be his highest break made in the entire tournament there. You know, 138 points. Tournament centuries are just going to be down to 2 for now. So let's see if Jack is going to be able to try and force that cue ball around the table. As it takes it on the blue, and Will just needs to make sure the cue ball is going to be able to pass the blue ball spot. And that's going to make the job for the referee slightly more difficult, although, you know, the blue is going to be placed onto the pink spot, which I'm not sure is going to be an advantage there to Jack, because as much as he's got the pink to try and take into the right corner, and then just place that one onto the blue ball spot, still not quite ideal that he's going to have the blue to be occupied by a couple of those reds. So then 13 points as the break. Tournament average shot time. And by the way, absolutely outrageous. 18 seconds average shot time for Jack. I mean, that is absolutely extraordinary because of, you know, that includes all the shots that he's played in the entire tournament. You could be talking about snooker escape. You could be talking about a difficult safety to play. And you also could be talking about a really difficult break for you to try and make your way through. And now it's going to be the break of 19 points here. So once again, it is going to be starting off with a little bit of the grind in terms of the points. And yeah, 15 points, the advantage that he's got here. So let's see the way that he can try and potentially take one of those reds to be taken into the right corner. And I mean, he's looking at the rest shot there, which he's going to need the extension for. But ultimately, it's not an easy shot for you to be taking on, especially with how much of that pace, well, needs to be added on the cue ball for it to be taken all the way for the blue. And for the blue ball spot, I should say. Of course, the pink is going to be taking that blue ball spot for now. So desperately needs to make sure he's not going to be straight on that pink. And, I mean, he's not going to be straight, but he's still going to be on the wrong side of that pink. So the fact that he's got the yellow slightly closer to its own pocket may be a bit of a thing for him to consider. Seems to be very keen, though, to be taking the pink anyway. Now just about misses the blue. And, sorry, misses the yellow there. Don't know why I said the blue. And still, look at that. Brilliantly taken, because as much as he was close to the yellow, and that would have put him out of position for the break, still able to play this shot nicely, and therefore get himself to be lined up on the red. Once again, needs loads of backspin to be added onto the cue ball, and somehow he's managed to overplay this shot for the pink, and he's landed pretty nicely on either yellow or green to be taken. So yeah, this is going to be a very different position to the one that we've seen in the first frame. But still, it's not going to matter too much for Barry Hawkins. You know, he's going to be desperate to try and come back to the table with a good chance presented to him. For now, it's Jack that is getting all the table time in this particular frame. Bound to take the yellow as well. Getting himself lined up for the red to be taken into the left corner. And about to take it into 26 points of the advantage. So play that cue ball away. And for the blue or the pink, I feel like he can't take the blue here. That's going to be a bit of a touch and go there. So he's having a good look at it, because as much as, you know, you want that blue to be sort of freed up and to be taken onto the pink spot, you also don't want to be taking any of those risks, especially when you've got the pink to try and pot, even though for it to be off the blue ball spot. Now forces the cue ball to go all the way, get himself lined up for the red to be taken. Now once again plays this shot super well and gets himself lined up for a potential chance now to surely take the blue into the right middle and just take it away from the pink spot for a couple of seconds. I mean, it's going to be down to the factor of how he decides to play this shot, because I could see a couple of options there to him. He can try and just force this cue ball to go past the blue and with loads of topspin, but that's only going to work out if he's got that red to be available into the left corner. And if the answer is no to that, you'll have to try and hold it back there. The answer clearly has to be yes, because he's played this shot with topspin, which, once again, it makes his job slightly easier for him. But the way that he got that cue ball to be slightly further away from being straight on the reds, which probably would have been the ideal case scenario, now he's going to be forcing that cue ball to go into the danger zone of those reds and the blacks. And yeah, now it's going to be all down to just taking the blue into the left middle. And if he's going to have himself, well, get himself a chance to try and take that cue ball into those reds, then he needs to be playing for a zonal marking there. Oh, he's tried to take those two reds away from each other. As much as he's managed to do that, the cue ball still not going to land on either one of them. So then now it's going to be a break of 48 points, 44 points of the advantage there for Jack. 83 still remaining at the table. So let's see which way is he going to go now. I mean, he clearly is going to have to be playing a safety shot, no matter how attacking you feel Jack Lisowski is going to be. He's got absolutely no chance of getting the break to continue from here, apart from maybe getting the fluke to drop into one of those middle pockets. I mean, he's just thinking about the position of the cue ball there. Clearly, from me, he's going to have to try and, well, I mean, ideally, he would have liked to be placing that cue ball closer to the green pocket, but, I mean, doesn't really have the angle on either one of those reds, so he just has to go with whatever's going to be available for him, and that's clearly going to be just sending that cue ball away towards the yellow pocket instead. So that's the shot that he's played now. 44 points is the advantage, and he's now going to be a good opportunity for Barry to try and get those reds away from each other, which, to be fair, I mean, as much as I say it's a good opportunity, purely for the reason of him still being in this frame, it's still probably going to play nicely to the hands of Jack there, because, you know, Barry needs those reds to be in open play, which means that he's going to be taking a bit more of a risk to try and get them to be opened up a bit more, and that leaves an opportunity away for Jack to be, you know, unleashing that power of long shot. Once again, a couple of seconds, and he's taking a beautiful safety there, getting reds to be even closer to each other, which we're going to have 7 off. Still very much at the lowest 10% of the table there, in and around the black ball spot. And yeah, 2 of them are going to be forming a little bit of a cluster towards the right corner, but I mean, there's going to be 3 more right next to the black, and then there's going to be 2 more right onto the black ball cushion as well. So Hawkins there trying to get the black to be opened up, but once again, this is exactly what I was talking about. He wasn't able to get that black to be opened up, and he still left a potential long red away for Jack here. So I mean, that was always going to be the problem for Barry, because he's trying to play catch up, which means he needs to be taking more risks, but taking more risks potentially can be very much against you, especially when you play against someone like Jack. Now then, he's taking this red wonderfully well. Is he going to be lined up on the blue? Oh, he looks like he's had one of those reds to go over the pocket, so the blue's not going to be possible into that left corner of the table. So the 45 points is the advantage here for Jack. He's going to be thinking about just trying to take the pink there, really. And then if he does it really well, he should get himself a chance to try and play that cue ball all the way down the table here again. So just having a look at this red once again. Feels like he's got himself an opportunity with the previous shot, but also at the same time, I wouldn't really be surprised if he has to be taking the black away from the black cushion and just try and put it onto the side cushion instead, because it's not really going to be a safe spot on the table for him to try and plan that cue ball onto. So he needs to be thinking about either taking the pink into the corner or just trying to play a safety shot of the black. And he's going to go for the pink. Now then, has he played this shot well enough? I mean, remember, pink is going to be going back onto the blue ball spot, and he seems to be walking pretty confidently towards the red into the left corner, which he's played really well that previous shot on the pink, because I tell you what, the angle certainly was against Jack at that particular shot. And now he's going to get himself lined up with a 52 points of a cushion. So then if you take the blue away into the right corner, you should get yourself into a really nice opportunity to be playing that cue ball away and bouncing away from the black ball cushion. So they're ahead by 57 points here. 67 still remaining at the table. Now if he manages to get that one more red with the blue, he should get himself lined up nicely for a frame win. They could have done without, overplaying there for the blue and underplaying for the pink at the same time. So it's a similar one to the pink that he's taken into the yellow pocket. Apart from now, he's going to be a bit closer to the pink and wins the next tournament, and also does the black pot. So the next tournament is going to be in 2 weeks' time, World Open, where we're going to have a couple of matches for qualifying to finish. Judd Trump against KY Chung, and then Rosmaier against Ronnie O'Sullivan. And then we're going to be back to the main draw, featuring the likes of Luca Brissell against Jackson Page, etc. And probably the only round 2 match which I can remember, because remember, one of the higher rated seeded players are still not going to be in the tournament because of him not being able to complete the qualifying matches just yet. Now then, you could see that really good shot from Jack, because he was thinking about taking that one with the rest, but at the same time decided that he could just about reach that cue ball and guarding that pink into the green pocket here. So the black is going to be possible, but it's pretty much impossible for you to try and get on that black, and at this stage probably wouldn't be too important for him either, because Jack gets himself lined up with 2 snooker safety there of a cushion, and it's now going to be down to Barry Hawkins to try and do something with those 4 reds. Ideally he wants to try and pot 3 of them, leave 1 more away, and try and get a snooker on the last of those reds that I mentioned. So then, just talking about the way that Jack managed to, make his way in this frame. He had a break of 48 points, which realistically, if you look at the scoreboard, that's certainly done all the damage to Barry Hawkins, because, he allowed Jack to have a really firm control over the frame, and the style that frame has gone ever since that point was just 1 long shot given away, and Jack was able to take that red with 3 really nice colours, one of them to be for the blue, and 2 more to be the pinks taken into the yellow and green pocket. In the meantime, Barry's going to try and play on. So after a very quick first frame, the second one is going to be slightly slower than the first part of the encounter. So you probably have to say it's the right shot thing for him to be doing there with Barry Hawkins, because you need to be playing on when it's only going to be 2 snookers for you to try and have a total clearance on there. I'm not sure whether that was intentional by Jack, because he clearly was not trying to leak that red over the left corner, but he didn't really play a good safety there. So now Barry's just having a look to see if he's going to have a chance to try and play for the black here. Clearly not doing that off the highest of those 3 reds. So he's trying to take the more difficult one away, and now it is going to be frame conceded there. Barry's not going to have any reason to continue with this one, as he misses the red, leaves it over the pocket, and now it is going to be 1 frame each there after the opening 2 frames. It is Barry Hawkins that takes the first frame away, and then Jack Lisowski responds with taking the second one to his count as well. So very much the story of the tournament, I would say. Very rarely you see one of those matches to be heading with a 2-0 of a cushion. We've seen that with Barry Hawkins and Weezer We've seen that with John Higgins and Jack Lisowski, and probably the only couple of matches which you can probably bring into equation were Bingham against Lisowski in the quarterfinal, where Jack managed to take 4 frames away. That probably was a thing out of the ordinary. Apart from that, majority of those matches have all been pretty close and very steady in relation to one another. Now then, it is going to be just the situation with Jack Lisowski here, though. He still wasn't playing his best game, which is going to be an advantage to him, but Barry hasn't really managed to build anything after that break of 105 points. You can see he scored only 4 of those points in the previous frame, and I'm pretty sure that 4 of those points came from foul shots anyway. So he needs to be trying to improve on that, because it's been a bit of a 2 frames of contrast. You know, Barry hasn't done anything in the second frame, but had a really good break in the first one, and Jack didn't do anything in the first frame, but had 2 decent breaks in the second frame for him to be lined up with a 1-0 draw. So now still 2 more frames to be played before we're going to be heading towards the intermission. And remember, probably the shortest first session of the finals so far this season has been the match of Zhang Anda against Jack Lisowski. Sorry, not Jack Lisowski, Zhao Xington. That was finished in less than 2.5 hours, which was very impressive for them to be able to squeeze 8 frames in the same time there at the World Grand Prix. And of course, the second session wasn't a lot longer anyway. It was barely, well, slightly more than 2.5 hours time. So that was probably the quickest final, as much as we've had finals that have finished with only 11 frames there to be played. And, you know, Chris Wakelin was very much featuring in one of them on his way to defeat Chang Minyu and win 8 frames on the bounce. Now then, what is it going to be here to try and get a really good break-off shot by Jack? Able to get that cue ball towards the green, and certainly able to respond really well to the standard of play shown by Barry Hawkins on the previous break-off shot. Now it is going to be Jack with a minor advantage there. So let's see about that. Cable TV isn't showing this final on the Premier League football. No surprise there. It's going to be Super Sunday on there. But, I mean, to be fair, it's the standard time for snooker, so I'm not too sure what that's going to be about. It should be showing TNT, and, I mean, as far as I'm aware, TNT don't really have the broadcasting rights for the, what's it called? For the Premier League. It's Sky Sports that does it anyway, so I'd be surprised with that. But, as I say, it just depends on where you're going to be watching this one from. In the meantime, Barry just tries to leave a safety shot away, but, I mean, Jack was trying to make an opportunistic move there. Didn't really work out to be taking the reds throughout the entire length of the table into the yellow pocket. And now it is going to be Barry to come back to the table straight away. But the problem is, the rate that Jack has missed previously hasn't really gone into too nice of a position away to Barry. Unless he tries to cut this one in, which probably is not going to be an easy shot for him to be playing anyway. He needs to be playing a safety shot instead. And try and get that cue ball to be lined up nicely onto the ball cushion. So gives the turn back to Lisowski here once again. And Jack is, well, probably going to have to focus on trying to make sure he doesn't do the same thing that he's done in the third frame against John Higgins yesterday, with a very similar shot like that, where he just put the red over the corner and left out John Higgins with a chance to score 73 points at that stage. This time he manages to take more power away from the red, so it doesn't leave it over the corner. But now, well, I meant to say didn't leave it over the middle. Barry still tried to take it into the corner, but it was always going to be a very difficult shot for you to try and execute. Especially with how far away he was from the pocket, but with him playing that cue ball towards the ball cushion anyway, clearly didn't have too much of the intention to be making that red in, because you would not have been lined up on the colour anyway. Now then, Jack is having a bit of a look towards one of those plans there, which Barry doesn't seem like he's going to be sure about which one is he talking about. And in the end, probably wasn't really a plan there. He was just trying to figure out if one of those reds was going to be passing the pink, and therefore getting himself a nice little line for that cue ball to travel all the way to the top end of the table. So then once again, the turn is going to go back to Barry Hawkins here. And he's got a little chance here to think about taking this cue ball all the way down take one of the reds towards the left corner, play that cue ball towards the green pocket, and just make sure he doesn't catch this one too thick, which he has. Now, has he managed to get away with this one? I feel like he would have, had he not been playing against Jack there, because, he's left him pretty much a shot which is going to be in between the mid-range shot and the long shot there. So, into the left corner, you would expect this one to go in, but, the black would have been such a nice setup there for Jack, had he been available, but now with it being covered up by a couple of those reds, he needs to try and play for the pink, which is exactly what he's looking at, but that shot just probably, the positional play on this shot just makes it twice as difficult there, purely from the potting perspective, because this one has to be added loads of backspin to try and hold that cue ball away, get himself lined up for the pink. But look at that for a shot. Whether it was planned or not, he certainly managed to execute this one to perfection, because not only did he manage to play the cue ball into those reds, get himself lined up on the black and the pink, now he manages to get that black away from the pink spot. And he's just going to be thinking about whether it's going to be worth trying and pot the black here, or is he going to be trying to keep that one very much as it is, because it looks like the other two reds are going to be in the way of the black ball spot, but they also may be forming a little bit of a plan there. So let's see if Jack just calculated this one well, that the black is going to have to go on towards the green pocket, the green spot I should say, the only spot available at this table right now, with the green being pointed out towards the right side cushion with the previous couple of shots, and that certainly is going to be the case. So it looks like it is going to be just play a couple of those shots with a pink, make sure that the black spot is going to be available, and then just try and take the black itself into the green pocket before bringing it back down the table. So the 9 points advantage here for Jack. See if he's going to be able to try and take the pink into the right corner. He certainly was able to do that, whilst getting one more red to cannon away from the cue ball and getting himself lined up nicely on the... I'll tell you what, he's got some nice number of reds here available for this position, because he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 potential reds away, which you can add to the count of 15 there. So, if you take those 7 reds with the likes of pink or the blue, that's going to be 40 points in the making for you, something like that. And that's going to be a very healthy lead that he can try and build on. Although he needs to be taking the yellow here. Of course, would have loved to be taking the black, but he hasn't quite done the work with the black ball spot to be freed up perfectly now. He's probably going to have that one on his bucket list pretty soon. So then about to just try and make a decision here, whether he's going to be trying to get this red into the middle with a bit of a thinker, or taking the red away into the right corner with a firm shot there, and just trying to bring that cue ball back up the table, and lines up for the blue yet again. He's gone for the blue ball option, and he played that shot super well, just about going to be on the right side of the blue, which allows him to be bringing the cue ball down, though he has underrun slightly for this red, doesn't want to be straight on it, because if he's going to be taking this one all the way and playing for the pink to be taken into the left middle, then I feel like that's going to be a bit of an issue for him to try and do something with it here. So yeah, just loads of topspin here needed on the cue ball. Try and play this one all the way and get himself lined up for this pink to be taken. Now then, 25 points as his advantage, and still having 4 more reds after the pink is going to disappear into the middle, which he has done now. So still has got a great variety there in terms of now he can try and bring the black very much onto the lower part of the table, and from that point onwards he's still got a great opportunity to try and get the pink and the blue to be played at the same time there. So about to make it 39 points of an advantage, and still making out total points for him to be approaching the lead of this match. He was 105 points down ever since that point of a fantastic break of a century from Barry in the first frame. He only managed to score 4 points more there in the next 1 frame and a half. And now it seems to be Jack's story in the making. Another red about to disappear into the corner. Plays it for the pink here. So about to get a very interesting story now on the next 3 or 4 shots, because as much as he had a good number of those reds to be available, he's about to take one into the right corner. Then he's going to get himself lined up for one last red to be taken into the middle, if he feels like he's going to be, good enough for him to actually try and play that positional shot on that red, without making any more changes to the position. Or you can always try and get himself lined up on the black here right now. Oh, I'll tell you what, he's underrun quite badly for this one. So 54 points is going to be on the cards there for Jack. But he needs the black to disappear desperately here. Try and play it all the way there for the cue ball. And he's missed the black. So that clearly wasn't going to be part of his plan. I mean, as I say, he's underrun for the black previously though. And that's where the damage was done. You know, he's played a really good positional shot there to try and get those reds to be separated away from the cue ball. And if Barry has got the access to at least one of those reds, it is going to be a really good chance for him to try and make it the first real steal of the final. And make him very much the favourite here again at the first session for sure. And taking that 2-1 of a gap to be his in the making. But, well, I mean, whatever you do, don't miss the first shot like that, because it wasn't even that much of a difficult shot for him to be taken into the middle. But he's certainly now about to leave a shot away for Jack here. And you can see just caught a little bit of the front jaw, but with the power that he was playing that shot with, he was never going to get away with that one. So last spot time approaching half an hour there for Barry, which is incredible if you talk about the first frame barely lasting 10 minutes. Now then, once again, is it going to be Jack to try and take the pace away from the red? But what is going on there? We've seen 3 misses, which, I mean, ideally, and in the real world, you probably would have expected Barry and Jack to make all 3 of those reds. In the end, it just seems to be a bit of a, well, sequence of misses there. Of course, Barry's not going to be missing this red here, but, I mean, Jack had so many opportunities there to try and get himself over the line, and it wasn't as much of a difficult shot for him to be taking, but I'm a bit surprised he tried to take that pace away from the cue ball, because that might have left it a bit vulnerable and a bit exposed to just having a little fade of the cloth there, which, you know, we have seen on some occasions. So just needs to be making sure. Now it's now going to be 46 points. Very much being able to recover there for Barry. 75 still at the table after the yellow is going to disappear. So he's still got some great number of reds available to him. Just needs to be making sure he gets around those reds one by one. He's about to take one onto the top end of the table. Once again, the fact that he's played for the yellow doesn't really matter at this stage, because he doesn't need those points badly. He just needs to be making sure he's going to get somewhat close to making it the total clearance here. So then about to take the red into the yellow pocket, get himself lined up for the blue yet again. And yeah, if you take this one into the middle, you should have the angle to try and force that cue ball all the way down the table, bounce it away from the black ball cushion, and get himself lined up for 1 or 2 of those reds to be played into the right corner of the table again. Or can he try and position them for the right middle? I thought the pink was going to be in the way, but it clearly feels like that's not going to be the case. So Barry's about to get 2 more easy reds available to himself. And then he's going to be down to the last 3 reds standing there, right next to the pink spot. Quite far away from the pink though, which is still going to be an important factor for him to try and split those 3 away. He's going to be doing that from the blue. And once again, just having a look at the black, which has still been left over the left corner pocket. Finds himself 37 points of a difference now. I'm just needing to make sure this one goes in with the cue ball, not really losing out any of the traction in terms of the position for those reds. Try and take it all the way with a big bounce. Make sure you miss that red. And he just about does that pretty well. Once again, as I say, if he caught the minor effect of that red, the cue ball would have been nowhere near as straight on this one. And therefore, would have left him with a bit of a problem to try and navigate through. Right now, Barry finds himself 30 points behind, still 59 at the table. So if you take this red away, get yourself positioned on the black here, which, I mean, he could have played for the pink, but I feel like we might not actually know something about these 3 reds there, because if Barry's playing so straight on the black and it doesn't seem to be sort of concerned about it, then the left red should actually be able to be potted there into the right corner. Let's see if that's going to be the case though. He's trying to take all the pace away from that cue ball. I mean, he's trying to play around the bunch there, which is surprising to me, because he got himself set up for the red to be taken into the left middle now. But which way is it going to be now for him? Because if he takes this red away, then it's not going to be an easy shot for him to be lined up for the black. But also, this red in itself is probably more difficult than the red that we've seen him miss in the previous shot. Look at that. That seems to be just about perfect in terms of it didn't catch the front jaw, but it was super close to it, which made the angle very much beneficial for Hawkins and allowed him to get the perfect position here, lined up for the black. And about to take this one away as well. Make it a break of 33 points and only 14 points of a difference. So he's going to have the blue as his frame ball surely. But at this stage, you have to say, there's the first real missed opportunity there from Jack. He couldn't do anything about the first frame. He managed to do pretty well for himself to get over the line in the second frame there, but now just unable to get a couple of those reds in. And that seems to have played a bit of a bad joke with him. Because missing that black previously and leaving it over the pocket didn't help. But, you know, ever since that point, we still had a miss by Barry Hawkins in the making as well. Then Jack had another red to be taken into the middle. Missed that one as well. And what followed was a break of 42 points and counting. About to get himself level on points. And as I say, the blue is going to be the frame ball there the next time he plays it after this one. Because that gets him 14 points of those bold colours and the blue. And he's only going to have 13 points remaining there at the table there, Jack. So, still very much a total clearance on here for Barry. And it could be making this one another break of 70 plus for himself. You can see the break of 47 points not really doing enough of a justice there to Jack. He's had the break of 48 in the previous frame as his highest one in the match. But Barry's about to go beyond that point. He's got 49 points off the yellow. Slightly too far away from the cue ball there in terms of him having to reach so far. The cue ball is going to be pretty close to the green, but super far away from where Hawkins is going to be in relation to the cue ball. So just needs to try and place that cue ball very much lower than the bulk line. Try and take it all the way with the brown. And then still leave himself up with some sort of angle on the brown to be taking that cue ball all the way for the blue. Looks like he's managed to play that shot pretty well though. 5 points of the advantage, so about to make it 9 and 14 with the brown and blue to disappear. And then the pink to be super close to the blue as well. Won't really have a negative effect there on Barry Hawkins' chances to try and get this one over the line. So then just take the brown away. It should be an easier blue for him in the taking as well. And now it is potentially going to be the first real steal and a potential important frame there. Very much when we reach the end point of this match in the making. As much as Jack was not really allowing Trump to be getting away from him in that final of the Northern Ireland Open. He was pretty much in the lead of that match throughout the entirety of it. But now it is going to be Barry Hawkins with a break of 67 points. He's not going to bother about the black, but he's certainly going to bother about taking the third frame away there. Jack had a break of 47 points, which proved to be not to be enough in the end. And now it's Barry Hawkins that takes a 2-1 lead against Jack Lisowski. And we're about to start the last frame of the first mini session in a couple of moments' time. An hour since the match has got underway, and still, it does seem like it is going to be played in a fairly close way and fashion there, because of, you know, the response from Jack has certainly been there so far on some of those occasions, but you also have to say Hawkins has been playing pretty well throughout the majority points of this match. You know, he didn't really have anything to do with this match in the second frame because, you know, ever since you make that break of 48 points, and yes, you still got 75 or whatever points available at the table, but at that point you had every single one of those reds to be in a bad position, and there was not really a way for Barry to try and get all of them away from the black with cushion lined up perfectly on the colours, and try and take 3 of the opening 3 frames away from Jack. So still looking to try and make it a 3-1 lead there, which of course Lisowski was able to overcome yesterday against John Higgins, but this one is going to be a bit of a different format. Now Barry finds himself with that minor odds favourite, it's a minor odds favourite there, 2-1 of a lead, 180 for him to be the winner of this title, and 2.0 for Jack now. Probably not a lot of a surprise, and probably have to say each and every single one of those frames has to be pretty much level in terms of who's going to be the winner. Barry Hawkins 190, Jack Lisowski 180 there, so probably is just going to be all down to trying to make as few mistakes as you can and then just go with the flow there, because that's about as much as you can do. You can't control which form or which performance are you going to be seeing from your opponent. So just try and hit those shots as well as you can, and that's about as much as you can do there, especially in the final, when you've done so well to be reaching this stage anyway. So then just having a look at the cue there from Barry, needing to make sure that the chalk is going to be added on appropriately there. And then it is going to be a break-off shot waiting to happen, as we're about to finish the first mini session away. It's been a pretty quick one so far, to be fair, because it's only been an hour since the match has started, and now we already managed to get through 3 of those frames. The second one was by far the longest, the first one was by far the quickest, the third one was something in between. Now then Barry takes the break-off shot away. This time around he's not going to have the cover on the black, but is he going to have the cover on those reds, more importantly, because it looked like Jack was going to have a shot available into the left and the right corner. In the end, I'm not sure he's got either one of those reds available to him. Certainly not into the right corner. Let's see if he's got the one into the left available. He does. Let's see if he's got this one in the pocket, and he won't. Now then, let's see where the red is going to finish. Is he going to bounce away from the ball cushion enough there for this red to be available? Now, that won't be the case, but still the cue hasn't really gone too far up the table either. And that's going to leave one of those reds away to be taken by Barry Hawkins into the right corner. This is now going to be the chance for him to try and step up. Once again, just force that game and make sure one mistake from Jack is going to be enough there from Barry to be a very dangerous player when he comes to be able to respond to those challenges. Just able to get this red lined up into the corner. Play this one with loads of backsman try and make sure the cue ball is not going to get stuck into those reds and played for the pink. I mean, look at that. Brilliantly played there by Barry. Yes, he's going to be slightly overdone. Well, he's overdone this shot slightly on the pink, but still, the fact that he's managed to get that cue ball away from those reds is an achievement in itself. Getting the red into the corner wasn't easy either, but now he manages to keep himself going on this break. And now trying to build on this momentum now. I mean, he's having a look towards one of those reds to be taken into the corner, but I'll tell you what, it's not going to be an easy one for him to try and take from this angle there, you would feel. And yeah, if you try and take this one all the way there, the cue ball is going to be heading towards the right side rail. And then just make sure you get the pink in. Just about rolls that one in. And has he managed to find that gap that he was looking for? It looks like he has. And that's going to be, once again, a beautiful shot there that he manages to find at a very important timing of this frame. And just like I said, he was, at some stage, it was 100 or more points without answer from Jack Lisowski. And now we are going to be entering a similar zone from Barry Hawkins' point of view. A break of 67 in the previous frame. And now the break of 8 points and counting. But ultimately, it's going to be down to the position, which is still going to be very much in the favour of Barry here. And he's got a really nice chance to be taking the green into its own pocket. Try and slow that cue ball down for the red to be taken into the top end of the table. He started to leave that one away. Probably because of the angle that he had on the green, which was forcing it a natural way for that cue ball to be heading down the table instead. So then just going to be all about taking this red into the corner. Play the pink into the right corner as well. And get that cue ball across the table. Lines up for the blue. About to disappear into the middle. Or in his case, he decided to try and hold this one for the pink. Once again, he's got a great variety of options there. He's about to probably play for the red closest to the black. Try and take that one away from the black cushion to be available. 18 points was the advantage. So one more red and black combination. He should be able to just try and start thinking about, you know, the split of the main pack there, because he's going to have the black very much respotted in its normal position. And then he's always going to have the choice of trying to do that from the pink or the blue as well. If he's going to be unhappy with the way the cue ball can be sent into the lower end of those reds, which I can understand, to be fair, because as much as you feel like there's going to be so many reds for you to be aiming towards, but if you get that cue ball to be stuck to those reds, you know, you want a bit of freedom to it, because you can't just be playing the red blindly without, you know, compromising the colour. So let's see if he's going to be bringing that cue ball all the way to the top end of the table. He's trying to play for the... I'll be a bit confused there, to be fair, for which one of the reds he was actually playing for. Looks like he was playing for the red at the top end of the table, but then he's underrun for that quite badly. This one still needs to disappear. And then the cue ball needs to find his way and lines up for the blue. Once again, brilliantly taken with the red. And just about close enough to the blue for this one to be a playable shot. And I mean, still, ideally, he wants to go really deep onto the cue ball and try and force it into the gap in between two plants of those reds. And to me, there's not really going to be loads of a surprise that he's taking the yellow on. Once again, 29 points scored, 107 still at the table there. So he's not been high scoring at this break, but still able to stay on this break there. Probably the most important factor of this visit to the table here. And about to take another shot with the rest. Try and make sure he gets that red no problem into the right corner. Once again, needs to try and hold the cue ball back there from allowing that white to go all the way, and lines up for the black into the left corner. So the 30 points is going to be the advantage here for Barry. You take that one all the way into those reds here. Well, you're probably going to have to. He doesn't have anything else apart from the plans potentially available into the left corner. So now still Lisowski somehow taking the pole there by 51%, which is really weird to me. Because so far, he certainly has been the first mini session for Barry to lose. And look at that. I said he needed one more shot, and he certainly managed to find that shot there. Brilliantly played. And now he gets himself surely a card towards a 3-1 of a cushion. With only 37 points on advantage, he manages to get a couple more of those reds away to himself. Although it still seems like he's not certain about the red to be taken into the right corner. He's got an easy one into the middle, but as I say, I thought he was going to have a lot more of an option there, but the two reds that are counted as loose ones may still be slightly in the way of each other, which is not a problem. I mean, he's always going to have the ability to try and get that cue ball into those reds here from the ping. But ultimately, of course, it's another potential shot where he can technically go wrong there for Barry. And that's going to be something for him to try and avoid there. Plays a good shot with the cue ball. Gets himself lined up for those reds to be taken into the right corner now. So 44 points advantage. And as I said previously, I mean, he was always going to have this shot to do all the work that he wasn't able to sort of get himself done there on the previous shot. But now he wasn't really any of a risk. And he still got himself lined up, nicely lined up on the red. And therefore, the black here to be taken for the third break of 50 plus there. So far, every single time where he has been a significant break of any sort of value there from Barry, he's managed to take that frame away there. Because if you look at those points, 105, 52 there, and you add 73 to that as well. That's exactly 228 points there. So we just take this shred away. That's going to bring the points remaining at the table down to 75. And from that point onwards, it is now going to be Barry Hawkins' frame to lose, and therefore his first session to lose as well, because he's going to get himself a 3-1 of a lead, which would have been a perfect start for him, especially with glimpses of Jack actually playing some decent snooker in frames number 2 and 3, and able to get himself lined up with that 48 points of a gap though. And now he just needs a red and a black combination. He's going to have 68 points advantage by that point, with only 67 points available there for Jack to be taken. So I'll tell you what, another thing as well, he could still make this one a really high scoring break there for him, because he's lined up with 68 points potentially. You got 67 potentially available as well, as he's about to take the frame ball. So we'll leave Jack Lisowski to be needing snookers. And now just make sure you get that cue ball to be lined up closer to those reds. And he's going to need to take one more just to kill the frame away. And then he's going to focus on making a century break surely now. Just take this red with a nice little cut into the corner. And ideally wants to be trying to hold this cue ball for the blue. But I'm not sure whether that's going to be the perfect case scenario. No, he wasn't. So just trying to get himself lined up for the brown again. And that cue ball needs to be bouncing off the right side cushion with a bit of the angle to try and get it past the left and the right side cushion, both of them. And in the end, he hasn't quite passed the left side cushion there. So he's going to have to try and get this red into the corner. And play that cue ball into those two reds. Now get himself lined up for the black here. So the break is still just about on there. He managed to sprint those three reds away from each other. He got the ping to be in a playable position as well. So now it all comes down to this black, which is going to be quite awkward for him, to be fair, but manages to take it super well. Once again, a couple of millimeters away from the front jaw, but in the end goes without touching it completely. And now a possible break of 132 there. Still feel like he's going to lose a couple of those points away, but it's not going to matter. I mean, a century break is a century break, and he's still very much marching on towards that for it to be very much on the track there, for it to be close to a similar sort of a, quick final of the first session as to the one that I was bringing up recently, Zhang against Xiaozington. Now on the break of 88 points as he uses the entire width of that middle pocket despite having that paying super close to it, just to get himself lined up with a nicer angle on the red, and therefore even nicer angle on the blue ball here. So if you try and take this one all the way there for the cue ball, you should be lined up on the red into the right side cushion for it to be taken, and then just ensure that he's not going to be exactly on the cushion, which probably exactly what he's done there. So 94 points with the advantage. So you just try and take it all the way there, leave that cue ball to me, position awkwardly on the black, and then make it a break of about 95 points, which was the highest break for him against Buiza. Now let's see if it is going to be a second century in the opening 4 frames there for Barry. It's a difficult black though, but he manages to take it into the pocket very nicely indeed. So then 2 centuries there for Hawkins, and he certainly seems to be playing some great snooker here and bringing out the best out of his form to try and take it all the way and be a real contender for this match to be his for the taking. Although the yellow is going to stay out, so it won't quite be a total clearance, but now it certainly is going to be an intermission in the making. It is Barry Hawkins that takes the opening lead, and he's going to have a 3-1 of an advantage before frame number 5 is going to start in just under 50 minutes time. So then can Jack Lisowski come back and try and take the first session all the way, but make it slightly closer and therefore slightly better of a performance from his camp? We'll have to wait and see in 15 minutes time. Stay tuned in, the best of action is yet to come.
trying to hold on to gotta find it first. But here I am, 'cause I've been laying under palm trees waiting for the summer, knowing there's nowhere to go. 'Cause I am happy on this island, wanna be my funland. I don't ever want to leave, I'm in a tropic club. a Hellcat. Like a Hellcat. Like a Hellcat.
Welcome back, everybody. Now we are approaching the second mini session as we welcome the players back onto the arena in North Wales here in Llandudno. And it's going to be, I mean, is it now down to Jack Lisowski, or is it going to be the battle that Barry Hawkins can still have a bit of an impact of his own in the way of, does he need to do anything different from what he's done in the first 4 frames? Because he's done really well with those 2 century breaks. That's exactly what you want to be seeing from yourself in the final. And now just the thing that I was going to say though, does he want to try and use that 2-frame advantage as Jack Lisowski breaks off? Straight away potentially leaving out a red there for Barry. So this is exactly what I was talking about. Does he need to be taking this red on straight away in the start of the 5th frame? Because, well, he's going to miss it by a mile here. Let's see where the red is going to finish. And he's going to finish in a playable position there for Jack Lisowski. So the thing that I was actually going to say before Barry was taking that wrong red away, I thought Barry was going to try and maybe do a bit of a tactical thing where he was going to try and slow the game down. Yes, you can always say that, if it works for you, and he worked on 2 of those brilliant frames there, he had a century break of 105 or 102 points, that's right. And that probably is going to be the case in any other match apart from the final. And it's obviously going to have to depend on the opposition as well. I mean, Jack has taken this red along the side cushion and he was always going to be close. And unfortunately for himself, he was never making that red at the end of it. Now Jack is going to be disappointed as he comes back to his seat. I mean, well, he doesn't really need to be doing anything else if you're going to see mistakes like that to be creeping in. From Lisowski's point of view, it's all going to be down to just trying to take this red away. Get yourself lined up on the black here. And then Hawkins is going to be the player to have the first chance. You can see long pot success, 20% there for Hawkins, 63% for Jack. But because that red that he missed wasn't a long pot. And he was all down to just trying to roll that red into the side cushion, which, I mean, was an easy shot for him to play anyway. It was his choice. He could have had an easier red to play. He decided to try and take it, the difficult shot right now. It didn't really work out. Now you can see 3 breaks of 50 plus there from Barry. All 3 of them have gone the value of 70 plus there as well. And none of them have been seen by Jack Lisowski there. Highest break of 48 points. As now you can see total points, more than a double advantage there for Barry Hawkins, approaching, well, to try and maybe make it a triple advantage there in terms of points scored in the total of 5 frames there. As I say, he's played a bit of a bad shot here. Needs to recover with the red taken into the right corner. And he's able to take this one really well. About to take the black into the same pocket. And may just be using the right side cushion to try and get the cue ball away with loads of backspin. He decides to try and do it with topspin instead. So get that red set up for the opposite part of the table. Once again, he was a good shot on the red that Hawkins has managed to take. Now it's going to be down to Barry to try and make the red disappear into the right corner, as he's got 16 points of advantage already, and the position once again, as he has been throughout the entirety of this match, been looking really nice to him. And he's made 2 centuries already. Says he can't make the 3rd one here, especially if he goes really deep onto the main bunch of reds here, which he may try and do now, but is it really going to make sense for him to be doing that when he's got so many more of those reds to be available? And as I say that, probably makes sense that he didn't play for it, so just trying to take all the loose reds away, as much as, he's playing well if you talk about his form prior to the intermission, but it's still going to be all about the final. And your priority has to be trying to get this frame to be over. And then at that point onwards, you can focus on making a maximum, making a century, whatever it's going to be. But just make sure you don't leave any chances away for Jack in the remainder of this frame. You know, he had one of those right at the start of it where he was taking that raid into the corner. Didn't really work out. And now it's just going to be the cue ball to be played for the pink or the black. I mean, Barry can try and choose from either one of those two colours. And then you should have the ability to try and get this cue ball really deep onto the side rail. Take it all the way to one of those reds. And then try and take it into the middle pocket. You would think there, but he's trying to take it all the way around that red. And I mean, it was a bit of a difficult shot for him to play, but he's actually overplayed that one, which is surprising. You know, he sort of landed in between two of those reds. Probably about to take the one closer to the right side rail. I've seen a couple of those missed there previously, but this one is certainly not going to join the club. Brilliantly taken there by Barry, and still just about to be, I was going to say on the right side of a blue, but it looks like he's landed perfectly straight, which, to be fair, at this position probably is not going to be any more of a trouble than it has been on the last couple of shots, and he should have a chance to try and play the cue ball for the red to be taken at the top end of the table. Now, once again, it's another quick fire of a break there, which is about to reach the value of 50 points there. And every single time that was the case, Barry seems to have taken all of those frames from that point as well. So, yeah, about to get himself a 51 points of a gap if he takes the blue into the right middle. And as I said, it was always going to be Barry Hawkins' battle. I was a bit surprised with how Jack has managed to sort of lose out the touch that he had and the grip that he had on the third frame. And he seems to have gone downhill for him. Although, just as I say that, he's gone downhill. This is a massive slice of luck that could still turn this match on his head. The blue is taken, but alongside the blue, of all the colours and reds, it is the pink that was taken alongside it into the right corner. And you can see there, Barry did a little pirouette as he realised that the pink was going to be joining the blue. That's going to be 6 points of a foul. And for the first time, we're finally not going to be seeing a one break, which will kill the frame away. You know, Hawkins had such a similar situation with Lisowski in that third frame, which I've just mentioned, where Jack could have easily been the player to take a 2-1 of a lead. But now he seems to be losing the touch there. And this time around, he's unable to punish Hawkins for his mistake. On the second shot that he's taken, the black of the spot was missed into the front jaw. And he caught that one by a bit of a margin as well, which didn't really help the case. You know, then straight away, it is going to be back to Barry Hawkins. And Lisowski seems to be struggling. You know, it certainly doesn't look like he's going to be heading the way of the Northern Ireland Open final. It could still be very much heading towards being another repeat of, either English Open and then potentially one of those Joey Long comebacks that we've seen against Mark Allen, or he could be taken all the way, just like it was in the match of Chris Wakelin against Chang Min Yu, where Chris was able to win 8 frames on a bounce, and in the end land a very significant scoreline in the end, 9-2. So then Hawkins, of course, doesn't have an issue with taking the first red or the black. So then gets himself back to the table, ahead by 47 points, 75 at the table, and still got a brilliant chance to be taking this frame away. But look at that. I mean, what is going on there with the players? I mean, just when you think Lisowski's had such a horrible start to the second mini session, Hawkins misses a red like that. I mean, that is absolutely unacceptable, and he knows that better than anyone in this arena. Well, breaks of 1 point from Lisowski, break of 8 points now from Barry, and surely a very important break coming up now for Jack to try and stay in the equation for the match. Although, as I say, had he not missed the previous black, it would have been a lot more straightforward. Now he's got the reds, which he'll need, and he's got the brown, which he'll certainly will need to be placed on the side cushions there respectively. For now, he's got 4 reds to be all pretty close to the side cushion, but he feels like he's going to be able to pop every single one of them, because there should be enough distance for him to try and take those into the corner, or just try and get that cue in behind either one of those 3 reds and get himself lined up for the shot into the middle. Although he could have done without bringing that cue so far up the table there. He's going to have a bit of a decision to make here. He's still got an easy red, and then he's got not so much of an easy reds there next to the left side cushion, which I mentioned. I mean, you don't really want to be leaving those till last, but that's going to have to be the decision now made by Jack Lisowski. And, well, seems like it is going a bit wrong there. He just about has got the angle on the pink, which is important, but he's got the wrong side of the cue ball to be trying to send this one into the ground. Now then, is he going to have the chance to try and take those reds? I mean, he's just pushed one of them to be perfectly on the cushion, but I mean, the second one can be taken into the yellow pocket, but you feel like it's not going to be the shot that you can put all your money on. So is he going to be down to a double? I mean, the double doesn't seem like it's going to have the perfect angle either. So a safety shot. Can you afford to be playing a safety shot at this position? 24 points down. You're always going to be second best in this frame, and you've got so many of those problems with the brown. With 3 of those reds there, he probably has to be taking an attacking shot, but if that red is not possible, it has to be the double, and he's taking that one with way too much power. That was never going to be even close to the pocket, and you just feel like there was a bit of frustration about that shot, but never really a genuine attempt to get that red in, with the mind working not quite to full extent there, because if you've played this game for as long as Jack Lisowski has, you know that if you try and play the double with 100% of the power, you're going to completely misjudge the contact of the cushion, and you're going to send that red anywhere but into the pocket. There's a fine line in between taking that double with 75% of the power and still having somewhat close to being in charge of where the red is going to go, and taking that one with 100%, which, I mean, you've got absolutely no chance of justifying the way that that red is going to finish, because it won't finish in the pocket in 90% of those shots that you play. Hawkins tried to just put that red onto the side cushion. Played that shot pretty well, to be fair. Thought he was going to leave it over the green pocket, but just about hasn't. So then, 24 points advantage. Hawkins still has got a very firm grip on this frame. But Lisowski, through no achievement of his own, is still in this frame. After a couple of those chances have been wasted there by Barry for him to try and get over the line. So then just looking to try and see whether it is going to be Jack to try and get that gap to be just 1 frame there, and trying to a bit more damage in the 6th frame. Or is it going to be Barry? He's going to be able to hold on to the gap that he's got as he managed to pot this red. Oh, nearly double that one into the bulk, into the left side, and nearly potted it into the right middle as well. But look at that. The red has gone bouncing away there and perfectly lined up onto the blackwood cushion, right in the middle of it as well, which won't help the chances of Jack. They tried to double the red into the left and the right side cushion himself. Brought the black away slightly. Shouldn't be too much of a problem though, as he's still going to be very much in a playable condition. And if anything, I mean, if you get yourself lined up on the highest 2 of those reds, then you should have a nice little chance to play for the lowest one as well, whilst using the black as the shot in between the 2 of them. So Barry's just going to have a very quick look towards the potential cross double available to him as well. So just thinking about 3 of those options. I mean, ideally he wants to try and keep pushing those reds towards the side cushions himself. And he's about to probably do the opposite of that and bring one of those reds to being the open play. Let's see if it's going to work out for him. He needs to make sure though that red is not going to be heading anywhere near the corner pocket. Got that one pretty thin, got that one really thin. Where's the cue ball going to finish? It's not going to be dropped in, so quite fortunate not to leave that red away, although it wasn't even close to doing that. But yeah, he got that red clearly too thin on the edge there, which, I mean, compromised by the way that he had to bridge over the yellow. But still probably no excuse to in playing such a bad safety shot. Could have easily gone a lot worse than he has now. Jack's still quite desperate for him to try and land an opportunity, although he's about to get a really nice escape there in terms of that cue ball placement. Being pretty much supreme at this stage. You know, he's about to cover the only dangerous red away, and then the 2 reds that he's left him are going to be right next to each other. And I mean, they have to be used as a safety shot there, but it's going to be quite difficult for him to try and hit the first one without touching the second one and pushing it towards the right corner. So if you can't do that, may as well just play into that red intentionally and just get it with a firm contact. We didn't really get the pace on the cue ball though to be there. It's now going to be a chance. He got those 3 reds to be somewhat in place. Jack needs to be taking this one away. Otherwise, he's going to be playing catch-up through the remainder of this final. Safety success, one of those stats which Jack actually has got a minor advantage. Look at that, brilliantly cued, and got the position on the pink to be perfect as well. Now then, it all comes down to those 2 reds and then the brown, and then he should still be very much on the cards there for Jack to try and come back in this frame. So one of those reds is going to be easy. The second one, though, is going to be anything but easy going there for him. And straight away, he's played that pink pretty badly in terms of he got the pink in, but he got himself out of position on this red, which was the last thing that he needed. He needs to take this one with power now. And once again, cue this one pretty well. Has he got the angle on the pink? He needs to have a minor effect of it and try and force that cue ball to basically cannon the black out of the way, or get that cue ball all the way to be bouncing away from the black ball cushion and getting lined up perfectly. But the second option is way too risky, so he needs to be taking the first one. Taking a bit of time there just to readjust and make sure he's got every single chance of, well, surely cannon the red away from the black. There's not going to be any point to try and play the positional shot. He's trying to do that. Is he going to be lined up for this red? He's just about going to be, but this one is still far from being ideal. And I tell you what, it feels like Barry will need that brown from this stage, because he's got 10 points of advantage. So if this red is taken with the... No, you won't need the... Well, you won't need the brown if he takes this red with the black there. So that's exactly what Jack is going to be looking at in terms of the scoreboard. So surely that cue ball has to be heading all the way to the top end of the table no matter what happens. And the red is going to be in. Now, how's the cue ball going to be? It's going to be on the yellow, but it's not quite going to be perfectly lined up on the yellow. Because once again, the perfect scenario now for Jack would have been to try and get a little bit of the angle on the yellow, which is going to be used as the colour to play after the red, before the actual yellow as a colour about to be played as well. From a 6 colour clearance, so he's about to just take the yellow twice there. Ben Williams is about to respot it. So then 7 points of a difference in between the 2 players. Has he got the angle now to try and absolutely hammer that cue ball with backspin to get himself lined up for the brown? Or is it just going to be all down to get the yellow and the green on and just commit to a safety battle to be made on the brown at the same time? That's going to be a risky approach, but he may not have a second option next to it unless he decides to go for another double there. I mean, he's taken the yellow. He clearly hasn't got too much of an intention to try and play a positional split away from the brown. I mean, he tried to do that, but doing that from the right side rail with the brown being on the opposite side of the table, it was always going to be difficult. Just about misses the contact on the brown. But realistically, even if he was to make a minor contact, he was never putting the brown into the playable condition. So just try and play a good safety here, which he nearly has done. I mean, nearly doesn't quite count in snooker. Now, 2 points of a difference in between the 2 players. And what's it going to be? Is it going to be the brown taken and attempted there into the yellow pocket, trying to play for the blue at the same time? Of course, Barry doesn't quite need the brown, and then it's going to be frame over. He needs the brown, blue, and pink combinations, but now needs the cue ball to slow down, and then he's going to get himself into a really good position there for the remainder of this frame. And I'll tell you what, this is going to be really close. And the fact that Jack is looking at the cushions may suggest that it's not just going to be close. It is going to be a snooker lined up. Well, I mean, you probably can swerve around this one, but with the brown being so close to the cushion, you probably can't take a risk with a double kiss there. And the problem is as well, there's not going to be a clear chance for you to try and roll towards the brown because of it being right in the center of the table, especially if you're going to do it from the right side cushion, which seems to be the approach there for Jack. I mean, it seems to be the approach, I'll say, but he's changed his mind about 5 times already. And it's only been half a minute. He's going to be doing from the right side. Well, he needs to have a firm contact here. And, well, hit that one pretty well. Nearly potted the brown into the middle with that huge bounce that he got. And, yeah, he got that shot really well judged. And now manages to put himself right back in the mix here, giving the turn back to Barry Hawkins. And ultimately managing to spread the cue on the brown quite far away from each other. So all going to be down to Barry to try and use that pink as the buffer once again in between the Cubal and the brown. Feels like he's just about failed at that mission. Jack should be able to get through for the brown, but ultimately, is it going to be a chance for a double, which he doesn't really need there? And I'm more thinking about, is it going to be a chance to try and get that Cubal to be in behind the black? And in the end, he's tried to take the brown in towards the black there, and it seems like he's got really close towards getting a snooker back there on Barry. So it's a really nice shot that he's played anyway, and look at that. That's about as firm of a snooker as you're going to see, but it's still very close to the black ball cushion. And you know what these shots usually mean? If you hit the brown perfectly well, you could get that Cubal to stop in behind the black as well. Hit it with not enough pace to me. And yeah, it's just, I wouldn't even say it was down to pace, but it was just down to the way that he's hit that shot. And he still managed to get the snooker back there on Jack, but it would have been a lot more difficult. And he managed to get the black in the way. Instead, he's just going to be trying to push the brown down to the lower end of the table. Ooh, he wants that pink to help him out. And he really wants that pink to help him out. I'm not sure that he's got the cover there, you know. The crowd, they're acknowledging that, who just about has got the cover for this brown not to be potable, because, I mean, it was a bit of a, not going to say a reckless shot, but he wasn't playing that shot particularly well when he got that brown to be so close to the left corner. Barry himself could have done without, you know, getting that brown so close to the jaws of the middle pocket, although that probably wasn't going to be involved with too much of a risk. I was believing on the steal, but now, well, it's going to be down to who actually steals there, because you've had two opportunities for Barry to kill the frame. No, you had two opportunities for Jack to kill the frame, and you probably had three opportunities for Barry to be killing the frame, but now there surely is going to be number 4. A double kiss is there from the Jack, and now the brown is going to be taking the green spot here, about to be taken into the green pocket as well, but I mean, I can't really say that it's going to be anything difficult here for Barry. The Cubal is going to be slightly too close to the side cushion, but still in the final, these browns should be taken with your eyes shut. And just make sure you're going to have the position on the blue. Ooh, doesn't want to be too straight on this one, especially if he's going to have a minor effect of the wrong side of the blue there. So he decides just to try and put a bit of distance in between the Cubal and the pink, which is fine. As long as you take this pink though, 11 points of the advantage, he needs the pink. And then he's going to be a 4-1 of a lead. And a guarantee for him not to be losing at the end of the first session. The pink is in, the Cubal is not. And it is going to be 4-1 of a lead there. And very much for Barry Hawkins to be taking. And after all that, he's gone back to square one. But he's going to hurt even more there, because Jack had the belief in this frame that he was going to be able to come back. He came down to the battle on the brown. And that battle was not even won by Barry, but it was lost by Jack, because of how badly he played that last of a safety shot with the double kiss, and allowed Barry to be taking this one away from him. Now it is going to be, once again, back down to Barry Hawkins having full advantage and, well, making a chance of trying to run away there with a really good performance in the next couple of frames. Once again, it's a 4-1 over lead that he's got. And, yeah, 3 frames on the bounce that he's managed to win now. And so he's got 3 more frame wins, potentially. Very much left in the first session to try and properly kill the match away. And at that stage, you're probably going to have to say, right now, Jack still needs to try and enter the prime zone that he had against Higgins. But at that stage, remember, he was 3-1 down. He was able to put it into a 4-3 of a gap for himself. And the last 3 or 4 frames were a bit of a mix and match anyway. Like it was a 50-50 on who's going to take it with a single break and a visit to the table. Now, we haven't seen a glimpse of that form, but we haven't really seen a glimpse of that form in the previous 4 frames of that semi-final either. So if he's going to be able to turn up to that form, and sometimes, you know, I say that form brilliant, he may not even be enough at this stage, because he's had 3 fantastic frames there. What is it? 93, 75, 138 points that he scored in those 3 frames. You know, something like 300 points without answer from Higgins' point of view. That's fine, but I mean, right now you do that, you only put yourself back into the mix there and make it 4 frames each. And you still need to try and get yourself to be in a somewhat, you know, beneficial of a position. But now, he's not going to be able to take the first session away with a win. So you need to do and focus on damage limitation here. Try and bring it back to 4 frames each, ideally. But in the end. That's changed his best of frames. And how many frames played in the first fight of the match. So, well, it's going to be 8. And I don't know why everyone's saying it's strange there, because, I mean, first to 9, that's been played like that for ages in the European Masters and in the whole Nation Series there. I mean, we've had English Open, we've had Northern Ireland Open, we've had the Scottish Open. All those matches have been played through first to 9. These are the only ones on the tour that you're going to have the final to be played in first to 9, but it's always been the case. So, I don't know if I'm missing the question there, or it's just people that I got used to, because we've had so many of those tournaments to be played since the Scottish Open, which was still in 2025 there. We've had the Masters, we've had the German, we've had the World Grand Prix, the Players' Championship, the Championship League, and now we are going to be back to the whole Nation Series, and we are going to be back to seeing a reckless side of Jack Lisowski absolutely trying to hammer that red into the left corner, and still nearly managed to get Barry Hawkins snookered somehow, despite sending that red in the cue ball very much all over the table. This is what I expected. I mean, I'm not going to say I told you so, but I could completely see this one coming. And never really understood that trophy presentation to Lisowski yesterday, because I always felt like that's pretty much a mindset he's going to be taken away from this one. And would have loved to be proven wrong, and for it to be a competitive match, which Barry was going to take right to the death. But for now, it just looks like he may still will be. And another repeat of a 9-2 performance from Chang Min-yu against Chris Wakelin. So, yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, Letitia. World Grand Prix later, we are going to be getting those frames to be played. Because Tour Championship, if you're not familiar with the format, it's going to have every single one of those matches to be played to first to 10. So technically, the first round match in the Tour Championship is going to be, well, potentially more frames involved than the final of the whole Nation Series here at the Welsh. Now, another good shot there from Barry. A response to the previous safety shot by Jack, which we haven't seen loads of before. And once again, I mean, it may be tactical, but Barry just leaving out that red and the door slightly open for a risky red into the middle to be taking. Yes, it's a risky one. Yes, it's a difficult one, but it didn't really stop Jack in the previous 5 frames. Who says he's going to stop him now? Don't tell me he's taking this red into the corner pocket, though. Into the green pocket he is. It's not far away, though. And he isn't going to be in. Wow, I thought that was going to be a bit of a, self-destruction of a shot. In the end, he's managed to play that shot super well. Because the thing about that red that I was suggesting to try and take into the middle, that the cue ball was going to be drifting on the left side of the blue, and therefore there was not going to be any of those reds available. In the end, he manages to find a beautiful long shot there. So credit when it's due. And now, as I say, 5-3 down. He's still not going to be the end of the world, but whatever he does now, he needs to be making sure he plays those shots super well. I was actually watching the interview after the semi-final of Jack as well, and he said a very important factor there, because he sort of gave a bit of behind the scenes to why he was playing so badly in the opening 4 frames, and he needs a bit of a same thing here there, because he's nearly just missed the red off the blackboard spot there into the corner, despite having that cue ball to be super close to it. But you basically were saying that he's been struggling since the Northern Ireland Open because of his tip. So he's had a bit of a try with, a bit of advice from John Higgins' point of view, and he was basically saying that once he had a couple of shots with Zhao Tonsku, and he was like, that's completely out of world, and that's completely different league. I need to do something with mine. So he was still trying to adjust to that tip in the sort of before the intermission yesterday, but then after the intermission, he said he just throw that tip in the bin, got rid of that one, gone for the old option, and yeah, of course, he's rolled into the scene and made incredible breaks of 138, 93, and 75 points. The problem is the intermission is now over. He hasn't thrown his tip in the bin, and if he has, the new one hasn't really done a lot of a favour. The shot, though, is certainly going to be one of the best positional shots that we've seen. He's still going to be under running for the blue, though. He needs to be making sure this one is going to be in. It's quite difficult for you to be queuing this one, and wow, I mean, he's queued this one way too good there for the cue ball, and he's got stuck to one of those reds there. Well, I'll tell you what, this is going to be an absolute horror, because once again, you take that blue and you're in the mix of reds perfectly well. Right now, he doesn't have anything available to himself. I mean, he can try and take you with a ref shot, but I feel like that's not going to be possible to how close he is to that red, and especially exactly in the line of that cue to be heading for the red to be passing into the green pocket now. Of course, he would have been aiming for the right corner, try and get that cue ball to be lined up with the black, but I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. You're just going to have to try and get it another time. But don't play a safety shot like that. He's nowhere near the black ball cushion, and that's going to be leaving out a chance of some sort to Barry. Once again, like, that's the easiest thing for you to do in snooker when you do all that hard work, very much in the first third of that frame, and then you don't get over the line. It's not even close to being over the line now. And watch what happens now. Barry will get a chance, whether it will be a fluke, a really good shot, or a mistake from Lisowski, but I would expect Barry to try and punish him for now and take another good chance to be taking this one with a 5-1 of a lead being very much on the horizon. I try to use all the jinx power that I can, but I mean, I genuinely do mean it, by the way. Like, that's just the way the snooker works. And, you know, if you don't score a goal, you're gonna get a goal scored in your own goal, and that's exactly what's going to happen here for me. And Barry, for now, was just going to have to settle for a safety shot. Jack wasn't. And I don't know what on earth he was trying there, but it looked like an attempt of a shot to be taken into the yellow pocket. In the end, he had a cannon to one of those reds, and he's left it next to the green pocket. He's not left it over the pocket, though. And with the cue ball still being in a nice position there, this one is not going to be an easy shot for Barry Hawkins to be taking, but looks like he's going to have his eyes on this red. And what did I tell you? This is going to be the chance that I was talking about. Now he needs to take it, and he wasn't able to take it. Now, does he leave anything away? He does, but only to the extent. I mean, I'm not sure if that red is going to be covering that right corner pocket, which was the extent that I was talking about, because Jack is going to be right in behind one of those reds to try and take into the corner, but the fact that he hasn't got down to hit that shot yet probably means that Barry's managed to get away with that, which was extraordinary, really, because, you know, he was playing for the colour. He was nowhere near to be on the colour, and somehow in the zone of having 4 of those reds and the cue ball to be right in the mix of them, he hasn't left either one of them to be available there to Jack. So still, I do want to see the angle on this raid, and if he doesn't go into the corner, and thank you, as if the camera heard me, yes, he definitely doesn't go into the corner, and even if he did, he still would be far from an ideal shot for Jack to be taking. So then just tries to put those reds to be in the way of each other onto the ball cushion. And once again, back to the safety we go. 28 points of an advantage here for Jack. 115 still left at the table. So for the time being, it still looks like it is anyone's frame for the taking at this stage, but you also feel like it is massive advantage to Hawkins because of the way that he's managed to get away with a couple of those errors previously made in his frame, and especially with how anything but clinical we've seen Jack Lisowski play in the opening part of this match. Now then, what's Hawkins going to be doing here? Trying to spread those 2 reds away from that cue ball. Played the shot pretty well though, because these 2 reds were the only ones in a potentially playable condition at the top end of the table. As I say, 2 more are going to be placed on the bulk cushion, but because of both of them being on the bulk, they're going to be basically in the way of each other, especially with the cue ball being lined up on the bulk cushion as well. So, a bit of a weird situation now for Jack, because he can't be going for a risky long shot, because he's got one of those reds to be very much over the left middle. So you can't be taking a risk with the lower end of the table. So whatever you do, you need to be keeping that cue ball on the top end of the table for it for now. And then just try and put a little bit of pressure on Hawkins here. So I don't quite understand what he can try and do here, apart from just trying to slow the frame down. Trying to get those reds to be closer to the yellow pocket there. That's exactly what Hawkins is going to be thinking. I mean, as much as I say that Lisowski doesn't have an awful lot of options there to himself, but neither does Hawkins. And you just feel like this is not really going to go anywhere. And just like I said, Lisowski just making a contact with those 2 reds, pushing them closer to one another, giving the turn back to Barry. And just trying to get those reds away from each other. Oh, Barry, I mean, look at that for a shot. Brilliant. As long as he doesn't leave them over the pocket. He will leave one of them over the pocket, but now, has he got the cover on the cue ball as well? He does. Well, I tell you what, this may be just about slipping away once again there from Jack, because he's got the perfect cover of the green not to be seeing one of those reds. And He may just be one or never shot here. Now or never, I should say. You know, a long shot with no control of the cue ball, but you have to try and do it now, otherwise you'll be in trouble. You had to go for it, he's missed it, and now that's going to be a fantastic chance given away once again for Barry to be taking a commanding lead here and extend the frame lead to one more there to his name and take it as much as a 5-1 of a cushion after the opening 6 frames. Make it 5 on the bounce and still make it a complete and utter domination from his point of view. Now then, just take this red away. I mean, once again, the position is looking absolutely perfect for him. And that was the reason why it was so important for Jack not to mess up that shot on the blue. Because the previous shot that he's played, you know, the reason why he had to play that blue into the green pocket was because he's played such a brilliant shot on the black, on the red, sorry, to try and spread those reds away from each other. Had to be taking a colour after that, had to be the blue. All you need to do is play for the red, the position that Hawkins is going to be in charge of. He's going to be very much there for the taking, but that's been the story of the match there for Jack so far. Just when you need that last shot, doesn't seem to get it. You know, he had 50 points of advantage. He's got 28 now, and he would have had a wonderful position to go with it as well. And now all of a sudden, Hawkins finds himself by far the favourite for this frame because, I mean, look at the Reds, 99 points. But you're going to have to tell me which one of them are going to be classified as the ones to be in a bad position there. He's got surely 8 out of those 9 Reds to be in a great position there. So you've got, as I say, 3 of them to be in open play. He's got 3 groups of 3 basically. And a group of 3 Reds right next to the blue ball line. The pink is out of position, which is going to be even more of a bonus now for Barry, because it gives more of a freedom for the cue ball to travel onto those Reds for how well they've managed to spread themselves out. The blue is going to be slightly out of position as well, which even better for him, because he's going to be closer to those main Reds and the black ball cushion as well. So just try and take those 2 Reds next to the blue though, as long as you get the chance, and that's exactly what he's going to do now, because that's going to be giving you a chance to try and use that blue to his full potential. And at the same time, now finds himself only 4 points behind. But he's managed to be very straight on this red, which is not ideal. And he's going to realise that because, I mean, he's got the brown right next to the blue ball spot as well, which may not be the worst idea for him to be taking into the green pocket. Let's see if he's trying to play for the brown or the blue. He's trying to hold this one for the blue, which, bit of a weird shot selection there because he's going to be getting that cue ball down the table. And positional success so far in the final, 93% for Barry Hawkins. 92 out of 99 shots that he's played. And in the semi-final, 91%. So still some brilliant stats that he's showing. And of course, he's played more positional shots in the semi-final. 141 shots that he's had. First to 6 match. And he's played exactly 100 here. Finds himself ahead in this frame for the first time. And able to hold that cue ball for the red closest to the corner pocket, the one that is basically left over the pocket, and force Jack to be taking that risky long red into the left corner, which realistically he was never going to make, but he never had the second option either with that. A bit surprised with how little of the distance that Barry Hawkins was able to put in between the cue ball and the right side cushion. So he needs to try and get through to this black, and if he's unable to do so, then the cue ball is going to have a bit of a difficult journey to try and head all the way for those reds. So for now, 3 points is the advantage. So if you take the black away, you should still be able to get yourself positioned nicely for one of those reds to be taken right next to the blue ball line. And he's actually managed to hold that cue ball even lower than that. So the one alongside the pink spot. So then takes it into a 10 points advantage. And once again, as I say, he never had any one of those difficult reds. The only challenge of the position has always been the factor of just trying to make his way past those reds and not to get stuck in them as if it was a cobweb. And he's managed to do pretty well in that. And he's managed to halve the number of reds available to him down to just 5. After he makes this black disappear into the right corner. And it's probably left one of the easiest ones away to him as well. Just trying to get that cue ball to be in behind one of those reds and play them into the middle. I mean, he's played this shot pretty well, but he could have played it even better had he managed to actually put a bit of distance in between the cue ball and that red. Now he's going to have to take it to plan B. And plan B involves taking the red into the right corner, which I mean, the thing that I haven't even considered actually is that one of those raids is going to be on the side cushion. But the good news for Barry is that he doesn't even need that raid. He's got 19 points of advantage now. It's going to be 26 with a black. And then, one red equals 35 points remaining there. He should be able to score 9 points if he takes 3 more reds there, surely. So it's just going to be down to 6 more shots. And at that point, it is going to be a 5-1 lead in the making. I said it's going to be 5-3 in favour of Hawkins. And I said he needed to start this match just about as well. I knew, by the way, absolutely had no doubt that that thing and the trophy presentation and all the story headlines around Lisowski was going to play a bit of a dangerous thing with him. And also, you have to say, the signs were there in the Higgins match anyway, because for now, in these sort of 6 frames now that we've seen, 5.5, he's played exactly in the way that he's played in the first 4 frames against Higgins, where he was always going to get one of those frames away, but he was never going to have that performance to be called worthy of a championship winning performance there. Look at that from Hawkins. That's a contrast. If you've seen one, brilliant shot from the black when he ran himself out of position on the black. I wasn't going to call it because I expected for him to recover, but how well he's managed to recover, certainly gone beyond all sorts of expectations. Now 34 points is the advantage. Still 51 at the table here as it stands. And Mounds to take this red into the left middle. Get himself lined up with a 35 points of a difference. And of course that's now going to be up to 42. So he technically is going to need one last colour after the penultimate raid. And he's run himself a bit with too much of the angle to be taken for this black here. So then, very close to the raid. And once again, I mean, you talk about the way that this match has started. It's been 2 and a bit of the hours. And we're about to be entering the last 2 frames there, you would feel. So this one still has got a chance of finishing before the 3-hour mark. And also certainly to be a one-sided final if we've seen one this season. The 2 that come to mind have to be Mark Williams against Murphy and Chang Min-yu against Chris Wakelin. Let's see if we're going to see the third one in the making here as well. I mean, we've seen Robertson to be destroying O'Sullivan in the first session, yes, but I mean, at least Robertson was playing really well in that session. And, as much as Barry has been, we have seen absolutely no resistance from Jack Lisowski so far. And it's a break of 76 points once again that seems to do all the damage away to Jack, and Barry not even trying to take that red away. I see barely any sort of sense for Lisowski to be coming back to the table, with it being 4 snookers that he needs, and he's going to get a snooker to try and find himself out of. It is now Barry Hawkins that finds another frame win, and he's taking this count to now winning 4 frames on the bounce, and he's got himself into a very comfortable 5-1 lead ahead of the 7th frame. And let's have a look at the odds now. 120, something like that, 114 for Barry to be the winner, 5.5 for Jack to be the winner by the end of those potential 17 frames. And he's certainly going to need 14 already for him to be the winner. Yeah, I could barely see this one happening though, because of so much damage being done so early on in this match. And now it has come down to just trying to do something about, the remainder of the first session. But even if he wins those 2 frames, I mean, he's still going to be all down to just damage limitation. And still, that's not going to be perfect at all, because you could say that 5-3 is a decent scoreline for you to be sort of on the receiving end of, but that only is going to be the case at the first 10. First to 9 is a bit of a different story, because even if you win those 2 frames, which does not guarantee that he will, all of a sudden, one of those frame wins for Barry, and that's pretty much done all that hard work absolutely nothing, because by that stage, every frame that Barry wins, he's going to equal 2 frames that Jack Lisowski is able to win. So, I mean, it needs to be happening now, but I've said that for about 4.5 frames there, and it hasn't really kicked in for Jack, and he's just lost another frame without having a realistic opportunity to be, still in the fight there. Did he lose that frame with 0 points? No, he had 28 points that he scored, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, a loss is a loss, a win is a win. And if you look at the total points scored, I mean, I'm very surprised by that stat, by the way. 423 points for Barry, 195 points for Jack. 423 points in 5 frames that he's won. And by the way, 2 of those were century breaks. So that gets the other 3 frames to just be up to a total of 223, and that's barring that he hasn't scored any of the points that in the frame that Jack has managed to win, which wasn't true anyway. So Barry still has got another gear to go into, but he doesn't need to do it now. Just try and continue doing what you do, and you should find yourself in a fantastic position ahead of the second session of the evening here in Llandudno. Now then, just try and bounce that cue ball away. Well, so much power there from Jack. Needs to make sure he's going to be in behind the green. Will it? Ooh, it's going to be close. I'll tell you what, the black is available. I feel like this is not going to be close enough. And Jack, once again, may have to find himself on the receiving end of a couple of points to be scored there from a break. Barry needs to be feeling this game is there for the taking, and he's got the chance to try and kill off Jack Lisowski. He got the red in. Now, is he going to have the position on the brown? It seems to be close, but he may just have the cue ball to drift perfectly in between the brown and the green, and that is going to be the case. So, wonderful pot, but only 4 points. 1 point score there, and a potential snooker to be lined up in behind the brown. A bit of a problem for Jack, though. He's going to be the factor of not having any of those 14 reds to be on the side cushions, or even the black ball cushion at this stage. So as much as he's got a main cluster of those reds, he's still going to have a couple of those reds to potentially give away, should he not catch those this cluster perfectly well. Now then, the turn has to be going back to him here. So the cue ball off the left, off the bulk, off the right side. And is he going to be anywhere near the red? Or I'll tell you what, this is going to be way too close for comfort. He got the black at the end of it. So it wasn't bad effort, but in the end, he probably is going to be just a respot of the black, and the position to be re-established once again there for Lisowski to try and have a second chance of getting this one right. Because once again, if you take this one away, then he'll win this final. I mean, at this stage, you probably have to say the Barry, but you never quite know in snooker. Now they're just going to be bringing the cue ball back to be in behind the brown here. So the assistant referee there just helping him out, and it seems to be good now. That seems to be perfect. Seems to be perfect now, so it didn't take too long to be fair. And now it's going to be just checking that Barry and Jack are going to be happy with this one. So then, don't really change the line if you want to from Jack, and try and do it very much on the same thing. So have a look there. Jack doesn't seem like he's perfectly happy with the weight. So yeah, you just say that he couldn't see that much of the right side cushion. So let's have a look at the way that this is going to finish. Jack seems to be happy with this one, so just good sportsmanship to be fair, because as I say, if you can see more of that right side cushion, then it is going to be a bit of an easier shot for him to play. In the end, once again, in around the house. Different line this time. It's still same outcome. But is it now going to be a red potentially given away for Barry Hawkins? We'll have to wait and see on that one. Barry will have a good look at this one. I have to say, it's probably not going to be any point for him to be trying to ask Jack to be coming back to trying to have attempt number 3, because if he actually gets the contact with those reds, then this red is not going to be possible from Barry's point of view. So he just needs to try and make up his mind first, because he seems to be struggling with that, whether he's taking this yellow, the red into the yellow or the left middle pocket. So for now, try and take it all the way and put a bit of distance in between the cue ball and the red. Try and take it very much away from the cue ball. Oh, I mean, he's played this one into the middle, which was always going to be the more difficult shot for him to take. But nicer in terms of that cue ball placement, although got that one to be alongside the bulk line once again. But didn't get the red in the first time, so that doesn't really matter. Let's see what Jack is going to be able to do here. Once again, just tries to find a thin cut, one of those reds, and get that cue ball to be heading in and around the house. And back to the top part of the deal goal. And just having a look towards the reds potentially available to be potted into the right corner now from Barry. And if he takes this one all the way, then he should have a decent opportunity to be bringing that cue ball into and in behind the green. He hasn't managed to do so. Now it's going to be down to just have a position there for Jack. Is he going to be able to use this one though? Because despite him having a couple of those long reds that which he can surely take, The cue ball's not going to be heading anywhere near the black or the pink, which are going to be compromised slightly anyway. So decides to go for a safety shot instead. Wanted to miss the brown. And if he catches the brown, wants that cue ball to stay behind the yellow, which he will, in relation to the right part of the table. Not so much to the left, though. So once again, bringing that back down to Barry Hawkins here. Safety success has improved massively for Barry in the last couple of frames. 83% now. And he's gone from 85 to 75% now for Jack. So let's see the way this is going to go. Could still be anyone's frame for the taking, but I still feel like it's a massive advantage, Hawkins, for the way that he's managed to take the previous frames away consistently with all the different formats. You know, we've seen centuries, we've seen high drama, we've seen steals, but we've always seen like it is Barry Hawkins that is actually taking those frames away there. Played another brilliant safety shot to be getting that cue ball perfectly lined up onto the ball cushion. And now, well, very nearly there, Jack making this contact on the red, but it doesn't quite count. And let's see if Barry is going to be taking the position from here. No, he won't be. So just once again, put it back. And now 16 points. So 15 of those, which he managed to get from foul shots there. So let's just see as Jack asks for the VAR screen to be brought up. Let's see the way that this is going to go. So 2.5 hours now since the match has started, and still doesn't look like we've seen any breakthrough from the performance of Jack. Still seems to be struggling a little bit for him to try and settle down and just take it step by step really from this point onwards. Playing this shot pretty well though. Just needs that cue ball to keep rolling, and he will. Now for it to be beyond the bulk line. Played this shot pretty well there, Jack. Now, at last, you know, that was worth conceding 4 points, you would have thought. Although, once again, he could have done without the cue ball touching there, well, being alongside the top edge of the D a bit. Because as much as he played a decent shot, he still leaves a couple of those runs to be available for Barry. And the good news, when you've got a 5-1 of a gap, you don't really always need to be referring to, you know, a percentage shot there. You can always just go for something that you feel like you can pot. And he's able to certainly pop this one away. Brilliant shot there once again by Barry. And I'll tell you what, for how unlucky he's been in the finals, this may just be the day that he's able to put all of that behind him. And for now, he's looking really nicely for a potential of a 7-1 of a gap before this session is going to end. Therefore, making this one the second most dominant, joined first with the most dominant session of this season. You know, we've had a decent start of Selby against John, 5-0. And the one that I'm referring to, of course, is going to be Murphy against Williams in the Sheehan Grand Prix. And once again, just looking at the way that he can try and take the red into the right corner. Ideally, he wants that get the black into play as well, but it's probably going to be something for him to do in the future, because he has got the ability to try and play those reds for the blue. Oh, I tell you what, he could have done without having that miss to be played. That red was certainly not the one that you expected him to miss out there. You can see just trying to do too much there with the cue ball, missing the reds, and in the end, leaving another one of those away to Jack here. Well, the jackpot needs to be trying to fire up on any sort of cylinders there. Seems to have seen a couple of those failed for him. Last pot time, 22 minutes, and it's still going to keep rising that scoreline. So as much as, you know, we've seen Barry Hawkins with a couple of bad misses there, but every single time he does one of those bad shots, Jack Lisowski just says, well, you know what, you've had a bad shot, I'm going to show you how it's supposed to be done, and I'm going to play a shot which is going to be even worse. Hawkins will win 10-3. I don't know what it is with people just saying it's going to be 10-3, but, you know, if you mean 9-3, that's fair, but don't say that it's going to be 10-3, because that technically can't be the case. As much as, you know, there is a bit of a story of playing till tomorrow. You know, Barry won't be. If he gets to 9 frames, he's going to be out of here with a trophy and a nice little check of £100,000 to take with it as well. Turning into a massacre. Yes, it is. And the bad thing the good thing for Hawkins is he's still not playing well. I mean, unpopular opinion, but he's still not playing anywhere near as well as he was in the sort of starting point of that match against Weezer, or certainly a couple of the deciding frames where he was, you know, finding long shots for fun, and he was killing those positions from the single chance as well. You know, he just had a really bad miss on the reds, and then The problem for Jack was he came back to the table and he had even worse of a miss. That puts Barry Hawkins right back in the position. 28 points advantage, exactly the opposite of what we've seen at the start of the previous frame. And remember, then there was a shot which ran Jack Lisowski out of position. But you have to work really hard for you to be out of position here. He's got the perfect lineup there, Hawkins. He's got those reds, he's got the colours, he's got the setup, he's got the frame lead. He doesn't have the pressure. Maybe Jack will come back in the second part and finish, but still for Barry to... Yeah, I mean, as I say, I feel like Jack is always going to be playing better in the second session because of, the whole, euphoria is going to evaporate from the yesterday. But I'm a bit surprised that it's taken him 6.5 frames now. I did expect it to be 3-1, maybe 4-1, but certainly not 5-1 there. That's... 4-3, 5-3 was something that I expected to see at the end of the first session. 6-1 is going to be an absolute massacre there, as Peter says, and it's going to be a very different story for him to be seeing. But Barry's going to join this one because, he knows better than anyone. Before you're over the line, you can't quite celebrate, but you may be very much towards racing to the finish line. Now, 45 points as the advantage, as the referee coughed there at the worst possible time. Right before the shot was taken, but didn't really seem to affect Barry Hawkins at all there. So 45 points, that's the advantage. So just try and take the black into the left corner. Once again, have the angle to try and play this cue ball around the red and get himself lined up for the middle shot to be taken. So 52 points now. There's the advantage for Barry. If you take this red away nicely, then he should still get himself lined up for the, well, either black or pink to be taken. With the pink probably not possible into the right corner, to be fair. There was no reason to be playing for the blue. Unless he wants to try and take one of those reds away from the top end of the table as well. But I feel like he's going to stay in around the black ball cushion here for as long as he possibly can. He's still going for a potential, 1-5-1 in terms of points for him to score. 38 here in terms of the break. And of course that's going to be impacted massively by how many of those foul shots we've seen from Jack in this frame alone. And you could finally make that total points of a score look a little bit more like the scoreline for frames, because still it's 500 now that he's approaching. And Jack is still yet to get over the line of that 200 points of a mark. Barry just seems like he's going to be so focused and playing so well when it comes to, once again, when it comes to those positions, when he's able to get himself into a chance, and he's been in with a chance for more than 25 points or so, then he seems unstoppable. The reason why I said he's still not playing his best snooker is that we've seen some long shot mistakes to be given away cheaply. We've seen some bad safeties, and we've seen, similar ones to the red that he's missed at the start of the frame as well, which could have left Jack a chance. Didn't really work out at that stage. And now it's going to be 68 points of a difference with 83 at the table. So it's still coming for that 551 points to be scoring. Not on a break, by the way. I'm just saying as total points at the end of the frame. That's going to take a hit, though. And, yeah, he's going to be playing for the blue into the middle. So 69 points now. About to take it into 74 points of his own. And take that red away. At that point, it is going to be frame ball for the taking. And a 6-1 lead very much becoming the reality. And Lola T-shirt says it's not over, but 6-2 in the Home Nation series. I mean, I am going to say it is going to be over, to be fair. And 6-2 is going to be the best possible scenario there for Jack. He could still find himself completely on the ropes and being 7-1 behind. But in the meantime, you have to give full acknowledgement there to Barry. And he's still very much on the cusp of trying to make it. The third century break, if it is to go all the way. He's got the breaks of 105 and 102 points to be scoring in the first 4 frames. Had a bit of a century drought ever since. But maybe coming back with another one here. He certainly manages to get this frame away. 78 points of advantage, 67 remaining at the table. That's 3 snookers needed. And he's still going to be lined up very nicely on another red to be taken into the left corner. Play for the black. And as I say, the thing that we want to see now as neutral, or Barry Hawkins fans, probably not quite Jack Lisowski fans, as a century break. And for it to be 3 on the bounce there, in terms of all of them to be made in the first session. And Jack is yet to get himself 50 plus break to try and score. Which once again, I mean, it would have been such an interesting match if Jack had a bit of a match to the form of Barry. and managed to play his clinical game today and bringing back with him to the table. Yeah, that hasn't really worked out. Now it's going to be down to just trying to take the black away into the right corner. Gets himself lined up for the position of a break over 72 points here. Forgot to add the green that he's taken previously. So then he's got another red, which he's just taken. And that's going to get him lined up with 73 points of a break. So now just take the black into the right corner. Get yourself lined up into two more of those reds. Although he has overrun slightly for the black. Still able to take it. And now it is still going for that possible 123 points. 11 reds that he's taken. 3 non-black colours. One of them was the green. 2 times that he's taken the blue. Apart from that, it's all been playing in and around the black ball spot. And now once again, just looking to try and land another brilliant milestone for himself. I'm not sure if that's going to be the first time that we've seen 3 centuries in the final from Barry, but he certainly managed to bring his A game to the final. A couple of those mistakes are probably going to be forgivable for the sort of the stages of the game and the way that there's going to be so much at stake for him. But apart from those ones, when he gets himself to get going, he seems to be unstoppable. Although he could have done without missing that red, so unfortunately he won't be 3 centuries, but it's still going to be a very nice lead of 6 frames to 1. And Barry Hawkins seems to be taking this one completely by storm. Jack Lisowski hasn't got an answer to try and come up with anything here. And his advantage Hawkins, that is 2/3 of the way into taking that Reed trophy to be his for one more year. And from one Englishman to another, certainly has been confirmed when we've seen the lineup for the final. It was Mark Selby last year. It was Gary Wilson before that. Robert Milkins the season before. I actually want to see when was the last time someone, apart from a man from England, managed to win this tournament. That was in 2021, where Jordan Brown managed to defeat Ronnie O'Sullivan in a very interesting decider at that point. His only ranking event tournament up to this point. And certainly the one that, at that point, got him into the world number 32 spot. And yeah, Jack is going to be disappointed. And first and foremost, he has to be disappointed with how he's played, how badly he's played. And he didn't really have any answer to this performance at any stage of the match. Therefore, he needs to try and come back stronger in the second session. But for now, for him to have any sort of a chance to be doing that comeback, he needs to try and get this frame number 9 to be won. By the way, just have a look towards the way that the English Open has gone, because I know that Alan had a very comfortable lead against Joe, but I just want to have a look at how comfortable it actually was for him, because I felt like that was something close to 7-3 or 7-2. Yeah, he had 7-3 frames of a gap. Then he's lost 5 frames on the bounce. Joey Long managed to take it to 8-7 and lost 2 more frames for Alan to be winning that one. So technically, 6-2, we've seen that happen in this season. So it just tells you that anything can happen in the world of snooker. But 7-1, I'll tell you what, anything can happen. But make sure it is going to be within reason. Something like that surely cannot happen to someone as consistent as Barry Hawkins. I know he had a bit of a bad run in the finals recently, but he wasn't that bad, let's be fair. That European Masters win came against Watchalong, 9 frames to 6 in 2023. And I said it was going to be 9-6. I already got the first session scoreline right. At least they got the winner right. I'll tell you what, if I would have gone for Lisowski to be taking this one comfortably, that would have been quite a bad prediction. But, I mean, before the start of the session, you'd have actually said Lisowski needs to be the favourite. And it is now going to be the final frame of the session. So as long as the audience are going to calm themselves down and just take their seat, because you could barely hear the referee announcing that it is going to be the last frame of the session. So then, is it going to be 7-1 of a gap for Barry to try and take into the second session? Or is it going to be a start of something special there for Jack? And is he going to be able to get himself another opportunity away into the evening session? And now it still finds himself 6-1 down here. So during worst performance at the final after the opening 7th frame. But look at that for a shot. Brilliant. Clearly played that one into the corner. I mean, what a shot that was. A bit too late, I would say. But certainly, at least that's not going to be happening in the second session there. Brilliant raid that he's taken into the corner. And look at the position of the cue ball as well. To be lined up on the green. Just make sure you've got one last frame that you're going to be able to win here. And then put it down to just a bit of an opportunity for you to be taking this one all the way into the second session as well. For now, he's about to take the red into the right corner. Played this one with a bit of topspin, but once again, I mean, you knew it, to be fair. As soon as he got that cue ball to be rolling super close to the side cushion, he was never potting that red, and he was always going to be leaving a chance away to Barry. It's just one of those days, which is always disappointing to be seeing at the final, but as I say, there's nothing really you can do in the day, and you need to be coming back for the second session there, but if you're going to be coming back in a match of first 9 frames, 7-1 down, there's always a chance, but it's going to be one of those things, 1% chance, 99% hope there for Jack. And for now, he just needs to try and hope for another opportunity to come his way. And the way that we've seen the previous 7 frames to go, you very rarely do see that. And a mistake to be made by Barry. Average break of 57 points there. It's going to be higher than that because for whatever reason, they take the current one as well when they're showing those stats. And of course, technically, this break hasn't even finished. Great shot there from Barry, getting 2 more reds to be in open play. Although he's still going to have his numbers limited. The 2 reds that he managed to spread himself, well, make himself available for, he's probably got the only 2 reds there. Apart from, you know, the main pack, which still needs loads of work done on it. Maybe doing that now, to be fair, because he's got the angle on the cue ball. He certainly has got the cue power. So let's see if he's going to try and take this one all the way into the pack, and he won't. So he's just playing for 1 more of those loose reds. Match centuries, still that count is going to be on 2 there, but ultimately the breaks of 70 plus then, there's been 4 of them, 75. You know, we've seen 83, and we've seen 102 and 105 there as well. So still yet to get himself lined up for 200 point score there, Jack Lisowski in the first frame. And look at that for a wonderful number. Ball spotted 147 for Barry Hawkins, more than double to the comparison of Jack Lisowski there. Table time 62% over to 38. But once again, I mean, all of these stats actually do a bit of a favor towards Jack Lisowski because they don't show the real picture of how dominant this first session has been. You know, there's been a couple of those frames where Barry left him with a bit of a chance, but that's certainly, have to say, all of those frames were in the first mini session. There's been none of those instances ever since the intermission there, because once again, I mean, look at this frame. It's been a perfect scenario of how this match has gone so far. Jack makes one of those mistakes at the shot that you would expect him to try and actually put a little bit of scoring of those points on the board. And in the end, Barry's going to come back to the table and score 25 points and counting now as he gets himself lined up for the pink. Takes that one pretty well. Cannons another red out of the way. So still keeps that number on 2 to be available for him. So although I say 2, the pink is going to have to go back on his spot, and that makes it as only 1 of those reds is actually going to be available there to Barry. He may have 1 more to be taken into the left corner, and he's always going to have a chance to try and play in behind of those 2 reds into the middle. But, I mean, the middle shots are not really going to be a nice thing for him to be doing because you're always going to have a very limited area for you to be aiming towards. Oh, I mean, he's played this shot very straight there once again. So it still does look like it is not going to be the last break of Barry Hawkins' campaign here in the first session, because he was always going to have a bit of a difficult setup when he started this one, and he's just gone from, well, decent to bad there probably in terms of his chances of trying to get this raid going very much until the end. So just looking at the position that he's got those 2 raids lined up into the middle pocket. So for now, 28 points of the advantage. So about to take the black away and make it 35. And get that cue ball to be very much close to the raid. So 35 points now is going to be the difference in between Barry and Jack here. And you still feel like this shot is going to be made there by Barry. For how well he's played, well, he's going to be straight on this one. I'm going to change my mind last second. This is going to be such a difficult shot for him to be taking. And I can't believe he's taken this one on, by the way. He got the cue ball to drop, and I mean, the second that I've seen this one was going to be straight, I was like, what on earth are you doing there? You can't be taking a shot like that on, no matter how well you're playing. Look at that. I mean, especially with him taking that with power. That was such a difficult raid for him to be taken away. And now it's going to be 4 points to be given away to Jack there. So he finally gets himself over 200 points there to score in the opening 6.5 frames. But more importantly, he gets himself into a bit of a situation here to try and send that cue ball into those reds. He manages to play the shot pretty well. In terms of he got the reds to spread out, and he also just about managed to keep this cue ball lined up for the black here. So just pop this one in, and he hasn't. So he kept himself in the frame, and then he's thrown it away from the table straight away there. So come on, Jack, for the prime before the break. Nope, he's the answer. And straight away back to Barry he goes. Unforced errors 5. I mean, that is probably the most generous count I've ever seen. Unforced errors 5. He's lost 6 frames there, and he's had around 2 errors for me, which have been more than unforced in every single one of those frames. I am very surprised not to be seeing that number more than sort of 12 or 13. 5 is beyond a joke to me. 5 unforced errors that he's had. And he's about to lose 7 frame there. Yeah, good luck with that. Anyway, 30 points now is the advantage. And Barry's not going to be letting this one to slip away. Once again, as I say, he's got so much more that he can try and produce from his game. But just unable to do it here. But he doesn't need to. That's the best thing about this final so far. It may still be one of the easiest matches that Barry goes on to win there. Although you never quite know. And for now, you just need to make sure that you get this 7-1 scorelines to be sorted. And well, I mean, I'll tell you what, Barry probably not going to mind that this session is going to end in, he's going to be ending soon for him, because as much as he had some brilliant breaks there, he's had some quite bad errors as well. So Jack may well be coming back to the table there for a couple more shots. Although I'm not sure how much is that actually going to help him towards taking one more frame there. Barry, for now, he's going to try and cut this red with a really thin touch. And the cue ball heading towards the top end of the table. This red, is he going to drop in? He will. Now, let's see whether the cue ball is going to slow down. Will it slow down at all? Or does it need the green for it to slow down? I mean, just about lines up nicely on the brown. I mean, it's not even nicely lined up. Just about leaves the brown to be playable. But now, does he have any more of those reds for him to try and play without, needing to send that cue ball into the remaining reds for how close they're going to be to each other? So it does look like it's going to have to be the brown to be taken into the yellow pocket there, and just try and hold that cue ball back there. So I would expect this one to be absolutely rolled in with no face at all. That was exactly the case. And Hawkins somehow managed to get that red, well, set up with the wrong way there. And it was always going to be low on the pace. And it looks like he's actually managed to play that one too much there. Getting that cue ball to be too close to the right side. And then 43 points as the difference. Still 75 at the table as it stands. And Barry should have a really good chance to try and take those reds away into the right corner. And then play the cue ball into the remaining 2 reds. Just separate them away from the pink. And then he should get himself lined up nicely for that one to be taken. Oh, we lost the cue ball there. Completely lost the cue ball here. And that's now going to be 44 points of the advantage, which still is going to be a very important break of 14 points there that he scored. You may not look at it, but he's managed to score, what is it now, 3 or 4 reds. And that got it back from Lisowski, still very much in the frame, to him being just about in this frame, especially with the, the remaining positions of those reds, and Hawkins getting that green to be positioned onto the right side rail as well. So then a couple more shots for him to play, but surely at this stage, unless he's able to find an absolute potion of a shot there, it's just going to be a formality before Hawkins is inevitably able to get himself over the line. And you can see that Jack clearly played that cross double into the left corner. Didn't get too close to it though. So didn't leave that red over the pocket. So now then, another chance for the cue ball to be travelling down the table here. And Barry to try and take the red pretty much in behind the black there. And the cue ball doesn't need to do anything with it. Just a little brush towards the red. And make sure that the cue ball is going to miss the yellow. And beautifully played there. I mean, he could not have played that shot any better. The contact on the red was perfect. The way that he got that cue ball to be past the yellow was perfect as well. Now Jack needs to try and basically replicate that. Way too much power. Contact on the yellow. And to be fair, done himself a bit of a favour there with that contact on the yellow. To take all the power away from the cue ball. And for it to finish perfectly on the ball cushion. So Barry still has got a chance of a long red to be taken into the corner, but you feel like at this rate, it doesn't really need to be taking those chances here. He's got that gap of 44 points. And if I was him, I'd just try and slow the play down for one last time in this match. And then just force Jack to be the one trying to play the risky shots, because he's going to need all of those reds. He's going to need the green as well, which has been put onto a bad position there. And straight away, put into a brilliant position by Jack, but at the pace and the price of the cue ball to be way down than the bulk line. And therefore, the red that he's just played is now probably about to be potted there by Barry. You can see safety success dramatically changing there, because he was at the start of this match, he was right down at 67% for Barry, and he's managed to rise that number all the way to 86 here. So safety for Jack now 73%, but once again, just like the unforced error count of 5 there, probably wouldn't really tell you the whole picture of the match. And really unlucky there, Barry, with that kiss on the pink. That seems like he has changed the trajectory of the cue ball with a minor effect, but as he pots the reds, probably not going to have an easy colours for him to take here. But as I said before, he's certainly now going to be in a position where just take those reds away, and you need 2 more of those to be taken, and then all of a sudden Jack is going to need snookers for him to try and find a way somehow out of this situation. Just want to see, by the way, before Barry plays a snooker on the green or just a safety shot, just how likely, yeah, they're not even showing the percentage there. Lisowski clearly is not going to have a chance in this frame. 1.03 there for Barry to be the winner of the entire match, and 15.0 for Jack to be the winner. Bit of a contrast to the second frame though, because it was very much level playing field at that point, and that has taken a turn since then, with 5 of those frames to be won in a row, and now it could still be about to make it 6 there from Barry's camp. And yeah, just play this one across, and the cue ball is now going to be positioned nicely onto the ball cushion. So he's going to have a red to put, well, force over the right corner again, but I mean, to what extent now? I mean, is he not at the stage of the match where he can just try and get those reds into the pocket, and then if he leaves them, so be it? I'd probably say he is. And look at that, though. Brilliant and absolutely fantastic judgment from Barry to get that cue ball perfectly lined up for the yellow. I mean, as much as it's the wrong side of it, he's still going to make this shot quite awkward there for Jack. And in the end, you can see the outcome of that, leaving a red to be available there for Barry to be taken, trying to take that cue ball all the way towards the right corner, nearly dropping the cue ball at the same time. But now he's left this red available for Barry to be taking. And let's see if he's going to be taken all the way here. So 45 points is the lead there. So if Barry takes the reds and the colour combination, then he should be lined up pretty nicely. He's even thinking about taking the red along the black bull cushion there, which surely is going to be the more difficult pot for him to be taking, because of how close it is to the black bull cushion there. So let's see. Could still see a chance there to Jack if he's going to be taking this red on, because, as I say, this one can easily be missed. Let's see if he will be, though. He won't be, because that's been the story of this final so far. Whatever Jack Lisowski is thinking about playing, you know, he's going to probably miss it with a very high percentage of value. And in the end, even when Barry Hawkins goes for those difficult shots, he seems to always be able to pot them into the center of the pocket. And now the black is about to disappear for a 7-1 of a gap to become the reality. And now, well, from the absolute brilliant story yesterday and a cliffhanger finish against John Higgins to an absolute demolition job here. Just needs this red to disappear, and he will go into the left middle. Barry Hawkins is going to be taking this lead all the way there. And Jack Lisowski needs to come back with a miracle. 7-1 down he will be. And Barry is going to be, well, pretty much 80% of the way there. He only needs 2 more frame wins, and he's going to have somewhat close to 8 more opportunities to be doing that before Jack is going to be back to be the favourite. Once again, taking those beautiful reds really nicely. And yeah, the second mini session, I always thought it was going to be the comeback of Jack, but he proved to be even worse version of his own. You know, losing out the first one by 3 frames to 1 was bad enough, but losing out 4 frames to 0 on the second one certainly didn't help his case. And now it is going to be lined up for the blue. He's not going to bother about this one, so just a break of 27 points, and Barry Hawkins is going to be taking a really good lead into the second session, which will start in just over 3 hours time. But Barry Hawkins may only need 2 more frame wins, as he's still looking for the biggest defeat of the season, certainly when it comes to the finals. Right now, it's still going to be joint in between 10-3 for Mark Williams against John Murphy at the Xi'an Grand Prix, and 9 frames to 2, Chris Wakelin against Chang Min-yu in the final of the Home Nation Series. Very quickly though, just to tell you how dominant this match has been. The highest break, 105 to 48 points there in favour of Hawkins. 87% of a safety in comparison to 74 from Lisowski. 44 long pot success from Barry. His weakest point so far, 62% from Jack. Pot success 92%, down to 82 there. Once again, Jack is 10% behind. Ball spotted 165 to just 63 there. More than 100 balls spotted there from Barry Hawkins' point of view. And total points scored, as you can see, 613 from Barry, 204 from Jack Lisowski's point of view. This has been a demolition job. He always has a chance to try and come back stronger, but you'll need a mighty comeback for him to try and produce a performance worthy of him lifting that Reed trophy. But the title is always going to be won in the second session, although it is now going to be a straightforward run to the finish line, you would feel. But you have to wait and see what's going to happen. Jack Lisowski still got a minor chance for him to be back in the contention, but you'll need to be taking those frames by storm and winning a couple of those ones. Yep, would be very difficult even with a strong will. Yes, absolutely agree. And it could still be very much game over in the start of those 2 frames, but it could still be something special, like we've seen Joey Long against Mark Allen in the English Open. For now, though, the first session is about to end, and we'll have to see you back for the second session. Stay tuned in. He may be over now, but, you know, if Jack is to win a couple of those frames, he could still make a real game out of it. Stay tuned in, and speak to you soon.